At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Philadelphia Phillies. Today's broadcast live from the Pepsi porch is brought to you by Pepsi Max. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Pepsi porch at Citi Field. I'm Gary Cohen with Ron Darling and Keith Hernandez as the Mets and Phillies wrap up their three-game series. And we return to the Pepsi porch where last year we saw the Mets beat the Cardinals on a walk-off home run. And we did little enough damage here last year that they invited us back.
Well, I'm glad we're back, and this is our third time really we broadcast from the ballpark at Shea Stadium. Obviously, the first time. It's a great view for us. It's fun for us. Gets us out from behind home plate. A whole different perspective for us to watch the ball game.
And it should be a lot of fun up here to watch these two teams go at it tonight.
Really, it was. Your eyes are drawn to different things when you're in different parts of the ballpark. Mine were drawn to the Mets starting to warm up. First Murphy Rutino, Juan Pierre for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Mets have beaten the Phillies 6 of 8 this year. One of the reasons why they're just a game and a half out of first place, and it's really been the irregulars all season, whether it was Jordani Valdespin, who's back with the Mets today, hitting a 3-run homer off Jonathan Papelbon in Philly, or last night, Quintanilla and Hefner, the big stars.
Well, we wanted to talk about this, and I was asked the question, is there any one guy that I can draw on that it stands out so far this season? And, I can't come up with one person. It's been Neuenhuis, it's been Baxter, Valdespin, Quintanilla last night. That's what it takes. It takes 25 to win. We had some guys get injured. These guys have come up from Buffalo and have been fantastic.
Tonight it's Dylan G going for the Mets, and the one thing Dylan wants to establish right now after a good start his last time out is some consistency.
Well, consistency of using all his pitches. He's got 4 wins on the season. He's looked pretty sharp his last couple of starts. But going up to today against Cliff Lee, to me, is the guy who's going to take off. His ERA is under 3. He doesn't have any wins. That's the first time after 7 starts that's happened since 1985 for the Phillies. His name was Steve Carlton.
Mets will be seeing Lee for the 3rd time this year and trying to keep him winless on the year. It's the Mets and the Phillies wrapping up their series here at Citi Field. When we come back, Kevin Burkhardt live from the field talking with last night's hero, Jeremy Hefner. By Pepsi Max, 0 calories, maximum Pepsi taste. By Bud Light Lime. By AT&T, rethink possible. And by Nissan's National Tent Event. Visit ChooseNissan.com or your local dealer. Mets and Phillies getting set. Last night, Jeremy Hefner did something no Met pitcher had ever done before. He got his first win and his first home run on the same night. And Jeremy's standing by with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Of course, Jeremy, you got to talk about the home run first. Just when you're rounding the bases, the elation, what are you feeling as you're running around after that ball clears the wall?
Well, I was talking to my wife last night, and, you know, my son being born and then us getting married and then the home run. When the crowd erupted, those were the three best moments I felt. You know, I felt nothing like that before. So.
I guess it's good that you put it third, otherwise you might have had a little issue at home.
Definitely, most definitely.
Did you feel extra pressure after the first start that you had? You know, I know it didn't go the way you wanted to. Did you feel the extra pressure to come back and really have a great outing last night?
I just tried to focus on going pitch by pitch, and that would take, and the rest of it would take care of itself. I didn't try to put any extra pressure on myself.
What did it mean to you that Terry Collins in that sixth inning, Phillies get 2 hits, started off, they get a run, he leaves you out there to try and get out of it?
I mean, that means a lot. You know, just for him to leave me out there and to get out of it, not only proves to him but to the rest of the team that, you know, that I can pitch.
What does the first major league win mean to you? What did you take some time when it all settled down last night to think about that?
Yeah, I mean, just it's been a long ride for me, you know, in the minor leagues and stuff, and on bus trips and stuff, and you know, just to get that win, it felt good.
Congrats on the effort last night. We'll hope to see you on the same thing next time out, okay?
Thank you.
Jeremy Hefner, guys, hitting and pitching. He did it all. Let's go back to you.
He did, and tonight Dylan G will try and get the Mets their third straight series victory against the Phillies this year. Mets and Phils from Citi Field. First pitch is coming right up. Brought to you by Scott's. Visit MLB.com/fan guide to register for a chance to win a VIP experience for 2 to a 2012 World Series game. Presented by Scott's, the official lawn care company of Major League Baseball. Send your Mets to the 2012 MLB All-Star Game in Kansas City. Vote up to 25 times by logging on to Mets.com or LosMets.com and cast your ballot for your 2012 All-Stars now. Vote early, vote often, and vote Mets at Mets.com. Let's check out the Phillies starting lineup, brought to you by Ford. Once again tonight, no Carlos Ruiz, so he's missed this entire series with a hamstring problem. That works in the Mets' favor. Mike Fontenot gets his first start of the series for the Phillies as the slumping Freddie Galvis sits down. And Dylan G tries to back up a great outing Friday against the Padres with another good one tonight.
Well, Dylan 8-8 in his career here at Citi Field. He's 0-1 in 2 starts against Cliff Lee.
Jimmy Rollins' first pitch swinging, pops one along the left field line, and over comes Scott Hairston to grab it. One pitch, and G has his first out of the night.
Oh, I tell you what, I'm glad Mr. Hairston saw that fly ball, because I sure did. I lost it in the sky. And the Alexis met defense, and we got Hairston in left field. Torres gets a start in center field. And I think most importantly here, we talked at the open about all the different players that have contributed, and that leads to right there the 41st different lineup, 3rd most in the National League from the New York Metropolitans.
Here's Juan Pierre, 1 for 3 last night, hitting at .314 for the year, and he takes a fastball for a strike. Pierre has been a real spark plug for the Phillies in a 3/4 time role early in the season at age 34. I mean, there was a lot of thought in some quarters a couple of years ago that Pierre was pretty much done as an everyday player.
They thought so, but he went over to Chicago with the White Sox and had 2 outstanding years.
Line to left, over comes Hairston, and he's there to grab it. 2 batters, 2 putouts for Hairston, and G's retired the first 2 in the inning.
You can't get a better start for Dylan G here. Low number of pitches in those first 2 outs.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Hunter Pence is 2 for 7 in this series. Pence got off to the fast start for the Phillies this year. Got 11 home runs, tied for 5th in the National League. The Phillies right now at a game above 500, 26 and 25. They are in last place in the National League East. The Boston Red Sox last night won to go over 500 for the first time this year, and now every team in the American League East is over 500. There are your umpires. Ed Rapuano. The crew chief has the plate tonight. And a fastball for a strike.
Yeah, the Mets have contained Pence this season. Let's remember now, we are 8 games in. This is the 9th game they've played against each other, only hitting .188 against the Mets.
6 hits and 32 at bats. Now the 0-2, and the changeup low and in, 1-2.
Well, like clockwork in this series, in every game, as Ty Wigginton waits on deck, Hunter Pence, they get on top of them. Where do they go? Up high with a fastball.
See if G has the same plan as Johnson stands up to wait for it, and Pence fouls it off. Didn't maybe get it quite as high as he wanted.
Did you notice Johnson give him a little thumbs up, and then would get it higher? That was in the strike zone.
Well, what's nice from our perspective out here in the outfield, you can really see Rob standing up to call for that pitch up high. This time he stays down, and Pence goes down swinging on the curveball to end the inning. So G sets him down 1-2-3. Mets will come up against Cliff Lee with no score. Torres makes his first start of the series. Scott Hairston has homered in 3 straight games, and Vinny Rotino has homered in 2 straight in which he's had a turn at bat as the irregulars continue to carry this team. Tonight going up against the 33-year-old left-hander Cliff Lee. And the first pitch to Torres is a fastball in for a strike.
Cy Young Award winner in 2008. He is 24 and 14 in the National League.
But 0-2 this year despite pitching well in just about every start. He's really had 1 bad start this year, and yet 7 starts into his season still looking for his first victory.
The only time he's taken them out and the Phillies have won have been 2 extra inning games. 19 runs in his 7 starts.
And he just pounds the strike zone, this man.
And the curveball bounced toward third. Charging is Polanco, throwing across his body in time to get the speedy Torres for the first out.
And we'll take a look at the Philadelphia Philly defense, and that's brought to you by Coors Light. Well, we got a few Gold Glovers in the lineup here tonight. We got Victorino, of course, 3. Polanco's won it in 2 positions, second and third. And Rollins, of course, has won a couple, got a couple under his belt.
So now Daniel Murphy bats with 1 out and nobody on. And with the left-hand hitter up, Hunter Pence almost disappears from our view. We have to crane our necks to see him as Murphy takes ball 1.
Which is pretty interesting considering Murphy has not hit a home run.
Well, there he is on the monitor. That's the view of the folks at home. We can't see him.
Well, we're in the overhang, so it kind of gets tucked underneath us down toward the Mo zone.
I am going to focus primarily. I'm just going to watch the game like as if I'm a fan here in the front row on the upper tank in the Pepsi porch.
That's you, just an average fan.
Yeah, you've never been in the upper tank.
Oh, yes, I have.
Not in several generations.
You know what's nice, though, Keith, from this venue? How good is that infield?
It is.
God,
beautiful.
Even just looking straight down at the outfield grass, it looks like a perfectly manicured carpet.
Yeah.
Well, there's our view, and you can see you cannot see Mr. Pence.
Good job they do mowing the grass, right?
Pete's looking for him. Pete,
there he is.
There you go, Pete.
Found him. 3-1 to Murphy, and he walked him. So Cliff Lee, who walks very few, in fact, he has the best strikeout walk ratio in the National League. That's just his 9th walk in 51 in the 3rd inning. But the Mets have a way. Mets lead the league in drawing walks. Now David Wright will get a turn with a man on base. David has dropped out of the National League batting lead for the first time in a long time. Melky Cabrera, who just has had an extraordinary month of May, has passed him by. Melky has 50 hits in May.
77 for the season.
So Wright at 370, 6 points behind Melky Cabrera. David had an RBI single in the first inning last night. His only hit in his last 18 at bats.
3 for 10 against Cliff Lee for his career.
And there are your National League batting leaders. What a break for the Mets to miss Ruiz this entire series. Golfed in the air, deep center field. Back goes Victorino to the track at the wall. It's off the fence. Murphy to third. He's being waved home. Murphy will score. He's out. Oh, a close play, but he makes it. A great relay throw by Jimmy Rollins, and they almost got him.
I think the umpire got hurt on the call.
But David Wright with an RBI double to give the Mets a 1-0 lead.
Rapariano made the call.
Looked like he hurt his back as he was signaling safe.
Well, it's a close play at the plate, and he's in.
Knocked Schneider's foot right off the plate.
A beautiful read, you called it, Gary, by Murphy. He never hesitated, and that's why he scored.
It's a great throw by Rollins. Right on the money.
Proper funding. Now watch Rapariano, but keep it rolling. Oh, he did a split, so he might have hurt his knee.
It looked like he was flexing his back, but in any event, Murphy with a really nice slide to take out the foot of Schneider. And the Mets have a 1-0 lead.
You know, I think it's what's interesting from our vantage point, when that ball was gotten by Victorino and sent to Rollins, as you see the tag applied by Schneider, I guess the call is that front leg was on the plate first. It looked like there was no way Rollins could close that distance between Murphy scoring and Schneider. And he did with an excellent throw.
I must confess that I watched the ball off the wall. My initial focus was Victorino, where he was at and running back, and then once I realized that he wasn't going to make the play, I picked up Murph the rest of the way.
So Rapuano appears to be okay. Scott Hairston takes ball 1. So the Mets, as they did the first time they faced Lee this year, getting off to a good start in the first inning. First time the Mets faced Lee this season, they got 3 runs off him in the first inning. Jason Bay hit a 2-run homer. It was the first game the Mets and Phillies played this year. Hairston bounces 1. Wright will have to hold at second, and Polanco throws him out. 2 away.
Gary, can I ask you a question? How different is it when we're behind the plate? Every play at the plate is coming to you. This play is going away from you. How hard is it to call?
It's a completely different perspective, and I'm with you. When Victorino released that throw to Rollins and Murphy was already to third base, I thought there was no way that they had a chance to get him, and that was a really terrific play by both Victorino and Rollins to make it as close as it was. Here's Vinny Rotino hitting 5th in the order and playing first base today. Rotino 1 for 4 in this series, including a 2-run homer, and he takes inside from Lee, a ball and no strikes.
It'll be interesting to see how Lee pitches Rotino now. He's been around a little bit. He had a chance to scout him. He's a fastball hitter, a high ball hitter.
15 and 6 when scoring first. I'm not sure if that's a great number or just a good number. Have to see what the league average is.
Well, it's hard to criticize Lee, but from out here you can really tell that he's getting under his fastball so far, not standing as tall as you usually see him.
Behind 2-0, and he misses high to Rotino. He's got the left-hand hitter Duda on deck, so he might be pitching carefully to Rotino in this spot.
The one thing I've always marveled is see Duda on deck about Cliff Lee is he keeps a great angle. He stands very tall and gets that ball coming from such a high plane. Not so far early here.
Remember, he missed a couple of weeks on the disabled list earlier this year with an oblique strain. And Rotino swinging 3-0.
How about that?
I'll tell you what, that really gives you an idea of the confidence that Terry Collins has placed in these, less than star players, that you'd let Vinny Rotino swing 3-0.
I also feel that. Go ahead, Romadus.
Well, you see the motion. The high leg kick. You know what's interesting there? That leg kick is lower than you usually see for Cliff Lee, and I wonder if he made that adjustment post being on the disabled list.
3-1 to Rotino, and he takes it low ball 4, and so the Mets have 2 men on for Duda. Second walk of the inning for Lee. It's a very rare event for him.
Gary, I'm making a comment on the 3-0 to Rotino. I just think that you got Terry Collins is kind of a little bit of a riverboat gambler. It's trying to get a good pitcher early.
Yeah.
Rotino's got some pop, might get a 3-0 fastball down the pipe. 3-0, you never know.
So here's Duda, who's been struggling lately. 0 for his last 14, 0 for 6 in this series. And as Terry Collins noted, at least a piece of that has to do with the fact the Mets have been facing a lot of quality lefty lately, and again tonight with Lee.
Well, you have Lee. We saw Romero, Hamels, of course. But the other thing is that Lucas Duda against left-handed pitching has become more of a singles machine.
Well, Duda's been the only one of those left-handed bats who's been left in there to face all these lefties, and he takes a big rip, and it's 0-2. You see that average against lefties, 255, not bad, but it was up a little bit higher until this last week.
He's been struggling a bit, hitting 143 his last 10 games. There's the winner of the first game of the series, Cole Hamels, 8-1.
Breaking ball misses, a ball and 2 strikes to Duda. Well, every number on Cliff Lee's ledger this year is impressive, except that 1-loss record. 51 innings, 41 hits, 8 walks, 47 strikeouts, 6 home runs, probably more than he'd like. Now the 1-2, and the fastball got him, and Duda is down on strikes to end the inning. But David Wright with an RBI double, Murphy with a good slide to take out Schneider's foot. And that's enough to give the Mets the early lead. Wright's 30th RBI makes it 1-0 New York. Lead as he takes them out for the second. Ty Wigginton leads off for the Phillies. Wigginton 4 for 7 in this series, including that 6 RBI game on Monday. And he takes a fastball for a strike. G threw just 9 pitches in a 1-2-3 opening inning. Wigginton hitting cleanup today. 5th time this year he's done that. 2nd in a row. And the off-speed pitch hit deep to left. Back for a look, Hairston, but that's out of here. Ty Wigginton with a bomb. His 2nd home run of the series and his 5th of the year. And the Phillies tie the game at 1. Well, that got out in a hurry.
Whatever book the Mets have on Wigginton, they can throw that out after this series.
Well, this is always sweet when you're a former player and you're against your former team. A changeup. Oh, looked like a hanging slider, RJ. Saw a little spin on that.
I think you're right. Little cut piece.
A little helicopter down in the strike zone. And that is no doubt.
A little crusher too there. Ooh. Here's Shane Victorino. Victorino really struggling in this series. He's gone 0 for 8. Now hitting at .250 for the year, and especially struggling from this side of the plate, hitting just .226 as a left-hand batter.
It's interesting how Ronnie, last inning, he struck out Pence on a beautiful curve. That's right. and he hangs that one. Funny game. Pretty much straight up on the infield, right in tight.
Well, that little slider cutter has become an important pitch for G just in these last 2 or 3 starts.
It's an important pitch. Don't overdo it because you don't want to throw that pitch. That's not his best pitch. Don't get away from his fastball too.
But you know, you have some success with a new toy and all of a sudden you want to try it out more.
Swing and miss is the toughest thing for a pitcher, especially in the minor leagues.
Victorino pops one up in foul ground. Johnson back, but he'll run out of room.
You know, I was talking to a few coaches last Sunday, and they were telling me that one of the things that happens is you go down the minor leagues, you learn a split finger, and down in AAA it's a swing and miss pitch. You're like, boy, I'm styling, I'm ready to go now. They get up here and they take it. So it really is something that could be a recipe for disaster instead of success.
Rotino to his right. G gets over to cover, and they get the speedy Victorino for the first down.
Boy, G's lucky he didn't turn his ankle there. He hit the back of the base, and his ankle kind of gave way. You want to hit the front of the base if you can, so it takes all the shock out. Watch this, Keith.
Oh, he slipped. You're right.
That first base bag here at Citi Field has not been kind to Met ankles this week. I thought Justin Turner's comments were interesting yesterday. When asked about his ankle, he said, I'm happy it wasn't worse. You know, that he wasn't on crutches. He was only in a walking boot. It's the same ankle he broke in the College World Series. Remember, he was hit in the face by a pitch and broke his ankle as he went down. Here's Placido Polanco, 3 for 9 in this series. And he takes ball 1 from G. Murphy to his right, plays it on the backhand, and throws out Placido Polanco for the second out. So 2 out and nobody on. Mets have beaten the Phillies 6 of 8 so far this season. It's been a series pockmarked with highlights. We mentioned the Mets getting 3 off Lee in that first game. John Neese with 6 2/3 scoreless. Mets with a big comeback against the Phillies when they were down 4-0. When Miguel Batista started on the 8th of May, and of course the Jordani Valdespin walk-off 3-run bomb against Papelbon.
Well, usually it's been in reverse. The Phillies have always taken the Mets to the woodshed.
G working to Mike Fontenot, filling in at second base today, and the veteran left-hand hitter takes a strike. Fontenot, released by the Giants during spring training this year, signed by the Phillies in mid-April and called up about 2 weeks ago. And he's hit well so far, 8 for 18. Good changeup by G, 1-2. I thought Fontenot and Terrio had to move as a package.
That's right. Both the LSU products, right?
They worked together with the Cubs for a while. Now G ahead, 1-2. And he misses with a fastball. 92 from Dillon. That's about where he'll top out.
You got to have a companion when you start speaking that Cajun, you know.
Otherwise, you'd be raging. Well, that's Southwest Louisiana. Another backhand play for Murphy. 3 ground balls for G after Ty Wigginton launched one to the back of the lower deck and left. Wigginton's 5th of the year, 2nd in the series. And the Phillies tie the game at 1 in the 2nd at Citi Field. Take a drive around the majors presented by Kia Motors. Francisco Liriano, not Lariano, through 6 scoreless innings for the Twins, his first victory of the season. The White Sox won their 8th in a row. Lexi Ramirez with a couple of RBIs for the Pale Hose. They had a little beanball war there. And the Cubs win 3 in a row from the Padres after they lost 12 straight. Darwin Barney, the 2-1 walk-off in the Cubs win today.
The Pods are reeling now, 5-19 on the road this year.
Rob Johnson leads off in the home second, and a lot of the talk before the game today was about what happens when Josh Thole comes back. Could Johnson beat out Mike Nickius for the backup job? Well, that point may be moot at least for a while, because Adam Rubin is reporting on ESPN.com that Josh was scratched from his scheduled start as a DH for Buffalo tonight. So we'll try and get more information about that. But it certainly is a legitimate question now. Nickius has been here all year as the backup, and he and Johnson have been splitting time over the last couple of weeks. And while they both have done a pretty good job defensively, Johnson has hit.
Let me ask you a question. I missed that last road trip. Not last road trip, but has Johnson caught Dickey yet?
No, he caught him in spring training, though.
Okay, all right.
And he's caught some bullpens since he's been here, but he's not actually caught him in a game yet. So that might be a consideration. But if Tolley's here, Tolley's going to catch Dickey's starts anyway.
But your backup has to be a guy that's familiar with RA.
Johnson, 3 hits and 4 career at bats against Cliff Lee, and he hits that ball sharply into center field for a base hit. Ownership 4 out of 5 against Lee. So Johnson has a leadoff single. His 9th start, and he seems to do something good offensively in every game.
High fastball, too much plate. Stays right level on it.
Guys, you're talking about Johnson catching the knuckleball. I asked him about that yesterday, and he said that a couple things. He caught Dickey in Seattle. Now, I understand Dickey's a lot different now. That knuckleball is a lot better. But he said he caught him enough in sides in the spring and in a couple games that he feels completely comfortable, in his words, catching him. So
here's Omar Quintanilla, who had a stellar debut as a Met last night and left in there against the left-hander tonight. Now, The hope was that Ronnie Cedeno would be ready, if not today, then by the end of the week. But the Mets today placed Cedeno on the disabled list with his calf strain, and they called up Jordani Valdespin for his third stint with the ball club. So Quintanilla in there against the lefty. A ball and a strike to Omar. Went 3 for 4 last night with a pair of doubles.
I do have to say, the first time through this order, been some very good swings by Mets hitters.
Couple of hits, couple of walks against Lee through the first 7 batters. And Quintanilla lays off the fastball, 2-1. One of the consequences of DLing Cedeno and bringing back Valdespin is it makes the Mets even more left-handed.
Yes.
They have only one right-handed bat on the bench tonight, and that's Mike Nickias.
Against the team that has 4 left-handers in the bullpen.
Two pretty good cuts there by Quintanilla off Cliff Lee. He stays in.
You know, Omar is a little guy, but he's got some pop, as we saw last night. Hit the ball off the fence in left center. He was a first-round draft pick coming out of Texas, University of. Was part of a College World Series title team with the Longhorns. Drafted by Oakland originally, came up to the big leagues with the Rockies, and played just briefly last year in Texas.
El Paso, Keith, you and I have been there, running through the Texas League, right?
Oh boy,
it's a great town. 3-2, swing and a miss. He got him with a fastball, so Lee has his second strikeout. First down of the inning.
Just gasses him right here, up in the strike zone, some plate. Did you go across the border when you were in El Paso?
Of course, yeah.
Get in some trouble across that border. You gotta be careful over there. At least back in 1973.
Maybe more now.
Listen, it's a little late.
Phillies look for the bunt from Dylan G, who has 1 hit but 5 sacrifices this year. And he takes a strike.
Well, everyone's charging hard, especially Wigginton, but everyone who watches Cliff Lee play, he's like Santana for the Mets. When he's out there, he's one of the best athletes on the field for the Philadelphia Phillies. Loves to field his position, loves to run the bases, loves to swing the bat.
G giving himself up and bunts it foul. 0-2. Andres Torres, the leadoff hitter, waiting on deck. Good to see Dylan going for the more even distribution of facial hair. Second time around this year.
That's right.
And a check swing as he was ready to take a full cut.
Well, Dylan had a big double, resounding double in his last start.
His only hit this season. Drove one deep to left center. And showing bunt again. And pops it up. And Lee lets it drop, puts the tag on, now needs the tag at second, and that's a double play. Beautifully executed by Lee. The tag on G, and then they get Johnson at second base.
Got to run it out. Nice heads up by Lee.
The rare 1-1-6 double play to get Lee through the inning. 1-1 game. Ryan Schneider, the catcher and number 8 hitter, leads off. Schneider catching all 3 games of this series because of the hamstring issue with Carlos Ruiz.
Hit a home run in his first at bat yesterday on a first pitch fastball.
Right about to this spot where we're sitting. Schneider 1 for 8 in this series. And again, seeking that first pitch fastball, Schneider fouls it back. Well, this is the first time this year that Brian has caught 3 straight games, and you know he didn't sign up for this.
That's right. That's right.
Cliff Lee on deck, and then Jimmy Rollins here in the 3rd. And the changeup away. 1-1 to Schneider. It's been very interesting following some of the comments by the Phillies in recent weeks and contrasting it with what Terry Collins has been talking about in terms of using his substitutes. Because what has emanated from the Phillies camp, from Ruben Amaro and his assistants, and even from Charlie Manuel in the wake of the Roy Halladay injury, has been something akin to what we heard from the Mets camp a few years ago when big name players were going down. We just have to hold the fort until those guys get back. Talking about Howard and Utley and now Halladay as Schneider goes down on strikes. And that's the second strikeout for G. And as you see, Schneider's clearly went around. It's very interesting to contrast that because this is something the Phillies really haven't had to go through before. And they've got seemingly a different mindset right now than the Mets do about the whole issue of dealing with the injuries.
Yeah, they've been really the front runners for the last few seasons. I think right now, though, with the injury to Halladay, I think right now their thought process is that, you know, let's play hard and try to stay close for the next couple of months. When we get Roy back, we should have Howard back, should have Utley back. When you have those players, if they stay close, then they'll make their run.
You know, I think that another thing that's probably in the backs of their mind, like any veteran player, this is a team that's getting older. And are these injuries now something that is every year we get to deal with this because their star players are starting to get old?
Well, I think there's another thing too for the Phillies, because losing Howard and losing Utley is one thing, as Lee rolls one out to Murphy, and that's the second out. But right now the Phillies over the last several years have been a team defined by their top quality front of the rotation starting pitching. And I think losing one of those guys somehow has a bigger psychological impact on them.
Well, I will say, you know, I played on a team that had the same mantra, team in the 80s. You know, every night you're going to get 7, 8 quality innings, maybe 9. And that really is 2 things. One, you stop losing streaks. You don't have long losing streaks. And secondly, you can really get on a roll where you win 7, 8, 9, 10 in a row.
Well, I can tell you from my experiences on the teams that I played with, it's always a little more, you think about it a little more, has a little more import when you lose one of your pitchers, whether it's a starter or a reliever. I remember we had McDowell over the 1 year didn't break north with us. At the same time, Doc didn't break north with us. But if it had been just McDowell, it's an important cog. Pitching is so important.
Let's get a thought from Kevin.
You know, guys, I talked to Charlie Manuel and I asked him, you know, how he handled this stretch where they were struggling, especially offensively. He said, look, I had one big meeting. After that, I stepped back and let them play. You know, they strapped it on. They came to the park and there was no reason to stay down. I told them simply this: come to the yard and play. I mean, he had the one big message and then it's on their shoulders, basically. That's how he handled it.
2-2 from G to Rollins, and he pokes one into left field for a base hit. Just reaching out and touching somebody. Well, Rollins with a 2-out single.
You know, Rollins hasn't had the year they expected him so far. He's been struggling, but I tell you what, he just turns it on against the Mets. This pitch is a foot outside and lets go with one hand.
If your defense is playing the pull, cannot throw a pitch outside. Dylan just missed with that.
But if it's that far off the plate, can you expect him to put it into play?
Well, there's no other place he can put it in play. But you know what I'm saying? You got to pitch middle of the plate in.
Here's Juan Pierre, and he takes ball 1. David Wright forced to play in on the grass against Pierre, who is always a threat to lay one down.
And Pierre, one of those players that always wears his hat under his helmet.
Is there anybody else?
I don't believe so.
Left in baseball who does that?
I mean, that was something the guys in the 60s did routinely.
Yes.
Well, because after you made it out, you didn't go to the bench. You went straight to your position. So you had the hat. Other thing they used to do, didn't they? Fold it up and put it in your back pocket sometimes.
Well, it may have.
Yeah.
But also there was a time when you did not have to wear your helmet on the bases. And guys would flip the helmet off and leave the hat on once they got on base.
Remember the skull cap?
That's right.
Dick Schofield wore a skull cap. I don't know if you folks remember that. You kids certainly wouldn't. It's a plastic that fit inside your hat. And
That's right.
Some guys hit with it.
I know Bob Montgomery, the catcher for the Red Sox, used to do that.
Now G behind on Pierre, 2-0. And he takes a fastball for a strike. See that sun coming through. In Colorado, they've got that issue with the sun. Of course, it's wide open in the left field corner, and it's right in the eyes of the first baseman in the early innings of games as he takes throws from the left side. Looks like it might even be a little issue for Rotino there. That's the space between the main concourse and the next level up, and there are windows at the back of the ballpark that let the sun in. There goes Rollins. The throw by Johnson can't be handled by Quintanilla, and Rollins has a stolen base, his 10th of the year.
Well, good pitch to throw right here, up for the catcher, and just not an accurate throw, and Rollins, I believe, would have had it stolen anyway. Still quick.
So now they'll go ahead, run in scoring position with 2 down. 3-1 the count to Pierre with Hunter Pence on deck. And a fastball strike, 3-2. Well, the Phillies have always been extremely successful in their stolen base attempts during this title run of theirs, influenced by their former first base coach Davey Lopes. Pierre fouls one off.
You know, what's interesting that still watching Daniel Murphy, who's playing in the outfield grass with Pierre up. That's a very dangerous position to play. Anything topped, you can see the outfield real shallow, but anything topped to Murph, it's going to be a close play at first. Jimmy Rollins, you know how he likes to maybe push the envelope.
And especially with Rotino playing first and not Ike Davis, a guy who's obviously going to have less range at that position. Ike getting the day off against the lefty today. 3-2 coming to Pierre. And Murphy on that outfield grass. Hit hard enough, it's no issue. And that retires the side. A hit and one left. We're in the middle of the third now. Top of the batting order coming up for the Mets. 7:10 when the Mets host the defending World Series champion Cardinals. Visit Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX for your tickets now. Cardinals playing in Atlanta tonight. Freddie Freeman for the Braves ditched his contact lenses because he was having problems with his eyes. Got new sports goggles. First 2 at bats tonight, home run and double.
No one looks good with sports goggles, I'll tell you that.
You do when you have 2 extra base hits.
That's right. That's right.
Andres Torres leads off in the home third, bluffs the button, takes a strike. Torres, Murphy, and Wright for the Mets in the third. Just an update on the note we passed along about Josh Thole. Turns out there is nothing wrong with Josh. He was scratched from his rehab start in Buffalo tonight because of a paperwork issue regarding his rehab assignment. So there's nothing wrong with him. So presumably Josh will play a game or 2 and then be ready to be called up this weekend.
He didn't have his right papers at the border.
I thought Buffalo was on this side. 1-2 to Torres. Daniel Murphy on deck, then David Wright here in the home third.
He needs a working visa.
Curveball misses 2-2. Well, you think Cliff Lee has it bad at 0-2, 2.82 through his first 7 starts. Steve Carlton for the Phillies once started the season, first 7 starts, 0-3, 2.41. Wow. So sometimes you're just not in the right place at the right time. And Torres pops one a mile high. Fontenot settling under it and puts it away for the first out. 1 out and nobody on. There's a lot of sports talent at the ballpark tonight, and Kevin Burkhardt standing by with one of those guys.
The entire Giants draft class is here, and David Wilson, the #1 draft pick from Virginia Tech. So of course David Wright, very excited about that. Did you get a call after the draft? David's a Giants fan, Virginia Tech guy. How did that work out?
Yeah, he reached out to me and got my number from another Virginia Tech friend, John Belen. So it was very special for him to reach out to me. He's a pro athlete and a very successful one, and I want to be a successful pro athlete, and I think athletes should stick together. So
you know, you had you took batting practice with the team, but I did notice that Terry Collins was giving it to you. He was trash talking you in there.
Yeah, it was. I heard somebody even scream "you suck," and I don't know if that was one of my teammates or a fan, but you know, if you dish it out, you got to take it. So,
you know, how about your first pitch? Now, you do the backflip on the way out to the first pitch, which we'll show you after this pitch to Daniel Murphy. Do the backflip on the way out, which was ultra impressive. But then the first pitch was not ultra impressive.
Oh, no, not at all. I did the backflip for insurance, just in case my pitch was like it was.
Oh, a distraction.
Yeah. So some people be talking about the backflip more than the pitch.
What does it mean to you to come to this Giants organization? You know, one of the greatest organizations in sports, coming off a Super Bowl championship. What does that mean to you, and what do you expect now?
I expect big things, and I expect us to go back to back. Coming off and being drafted to the New York Giants that just won the Super Bowl, you know, that means they're expecting a lot of you because they're expecting to have the same results.
Daniel Murphy has himself a base hit here. How about getting a chance to work with Eli Manning, you know, 2-time Super Bowl MVP? You're having OTAs right now. I know it hasn't been a long time, but what's that experience been like?
I'm definitely looking forward to being on the field with them and competing with a lot of the guys that I've seen play on TV before, and now I'll be a part of.
Your boy David Wright's up, so we're going to let everybody go watch it. Congrats on the draft pick. Good luck in New York.
All right. Everybody can follow me on Twitter at Ford Still Running. So check it out.
Publicity in New York, guys. Let's watch his boy David here hit. Back to you.
David Wilson, very good velocity, just a little scatter arm. So here's Wright, who doubled off the wall in center field his first time up to drive in the Mets run. David's 17th double and his 30th run batted in. David now has 13 doubles in the month of May, just one shy of the Mets record for any month. And Lee pours one over, 1-1. Well, 8 games between these teams. Mets have won 6 of 8, and those are some of the guys who've been front and center on each side. Of course, David's been doing that against just about everybody.
Well, you said it, Garibaldi's being with the home run off Papelbon, won a ball game. Ike got a big 3-run shot in Philadelphia earlier in the year. Even though he lost, Mike Pelfrey had a nice start in Philadelphia, a place that's never been kind to him.
It was the only game the Phillies won in those 6 games the Mets played in Philly. They came from behind against the Mets bullpen. And that one caught the inside corner to get even 2-2.
What do you think, Keith? Good pitch here?
Yes, sir. And they're going to pound David in. That's all there is to it.
That's what Hamels did also.
Yep.
Here's the 2-2, and that one is inside. A full count to right. We mentioned the Met Club record, 14 doubles in a month. Most recently, Daniel Murphy did that last year in July. The other two have hit 14 doubles in a month. Rusty Staub did it back in June of '73, and Bernard Gilkey in his great season in August of '96. 3-2, and David grounds one to second, might be 2. Fontenot steps and fires for the 4-4-3 double play. Second double play in as many innings for Cliff Lee, 14 of them for him in his 8 starts this year. David Wilson showing off his skills. The phone call that changed his life forever. Plus, see all the highlights from the long-awaited return of Banner Day on Mets Weekly, presented by WB Mason, Sunday at 6, only on SNY. Part of the batting order for the Phillies in the 4th against Dylan G in a 1-1 game. Hunter Pence struck out his first time up. Wigginton and Victorino to follow. G's allowed only 2 base runners. The home run by Wigginton, a single by Rollins, and Pence chasing that 2-0 changeup, 2-1.
Pretty good pitch, 2-0 right there.
Would you say that Hunter Pence is as unorthodox a player as you've seen in a long time?
Yes, everything he does is like a rickety old gate, but he gets it done. And he really chokes up on that bat too.
I mean, he swings strangely, he throws strangely, he runs strangely, but he is a very good player.
Okay, I got another guy for you. How about another Philly, Larry Boa?
Well, the crow hop, swing and a miss, and Pence has his 3rd strikeout. He actually looked like a crow when he made his crow hop.
That's right.
Swung right over it. He likes that high ball.
Ruined a lot of careers.
That's true.
One out and nobody on. Here's Ty Wigginton, and he takes it high. Wigginton got a hold of a changeup and hit it out of sight for his 5th home run of the year. And G, for the 2nd straight hitter, falls behind 2-0. Well, the one thing that G has done better so far tonight is keep the leadoff hitter off base. It's been a consuming issue for G all year in wins and losses. Coming into the night, leadoff hitters in an inning had a .458 on base percentage against G, the highest in the majors.
Yeah, it has to be the highest. That's unheard of.
I mean, how do you avoid having a 9 ERA if that's the case? Well, last year it was less than half that.
His pitching with runners in scoring position has been pretty good. That's why he's been able to stop some of that madness.
And that's it said average on the graphic, but it's on base percentage. Yeah. Average, that would be even worse.
Well, you know, for Dylan, it's been a strange year because it's really only 2 starts. He's given up 7 earned runs in 2 of his starts. The rest have been pretty solid.
Behind now and a good hitter, 3-1, and Wigginton swings at not a good pitch, and it's 3-2.
It seems to be the pitch of choice for Dylan, the changeup, when he falls behind 2-0, 3-1.
Now the 3-2 to Wigginton, and the fastball fouled off. 93 from G. Maybe the first time we've seen that all year.
It's funny. He gave up the home run on the hanging kind of cutter slider called there by Johnson. He shook him off.
Wouldn't you?
Yes.
Again the 3-2, and Wigginton hits one along the left field line, and right goes over for a look, but it's beyond the tarp. It's hard to believe it's been 8 years since Ty Wigginton was a Met.
Now he was what, sent along because it was David Wright's time, right?
David had arrived, I think, about a month before Ty was traded. You know, and Wigginton was never a great defensive third baseman. He was never a great defensive anything. But he was scrappy. Probably his best position was first base, where she's playing these days now for the Phillies.
He's just a good journeyman player.
Yep.
Someone you want on your team.
And that strike 3 called. Wigginton didn't agree. Back-to-back strikeouts for G to start the 4th.
Well, this is intentional. You see Johnson set up inside. That's the old front door slider right there. Pitched him pretty tough, I'll say. Right. Give him credit. That was a good sequence of pitches against Wigginton, who really battled him.
Think of a guy who Wigginton reminds you of from your day, because I gotta have a guy in mind.
Who do you have in mind?
Art Howe.
Oh, really? I think Wigginton's a little bit stronger, more pop.
Artie was a better defensive player,
but Artie also played in the Dome most of his career.
Yeah, they play the same position, you know, third base, first base.
Victorino hits one in the air to center field. Back goes Torres. He'll have room right in front of the warning track to grab it. And the Phillies are out. 0 runs, 0 hits, 0 errors. Pepsi Max, 0 calories, maximum Pepsi taste. Super slow motion brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Oh, we are just masters of watery science. It's a beautiful sunset. Nice job, guys. Nice of them to arrange that nice sunset when we're up here in the Pepsi porch.
Turn it into a ball game. You get a lesson on earth science. Very good.
Scott Hairston, who grounded out his first time up, leads off in the home 4th inning. Hairston sitting on 3 straight games with a home run. The Met Club record for home run in consecutive games is 5, and I think most Met fans would be hard pressed to remember who it was. It was within the last decade.
Really?
But a guy who was not a Met for very long, or in a very distinguished fashion, but he did homer in 5 straight games. Better known as an Astro. Richard Hidalgo.
Oh, wow.
The only Met ever to homer in 5 straight games. Lee ahead on Hairston 1-2 with Rotino and Duda to follow. And the fastball inside 2-2.
Well, we talk up here all the time, well, not here, but behind the plate,
wherever we are,
about pitching inside. No one does it better than Lee. He's got the right-handed hitters for the Mets standing up, getting out of the way. You saw David's at bat, moving his feet.
Hit sharply up the middle, and Harrison's got a base hit. So the Mets get the leadoff man on for the 2nd time in 4 innings. Their 4th hit against Lee. Well, we're up here in the Pepsi porch for the 2nd straight season, and you know, I am stunned this year as I was last year at how good the view is. You know, we're further over toward the foul pole this year than we were last year, and yet you can still see the pitcher-batter relationship, read the pitches, see the ball off the bat just as well as we could last year.
Well, you know what's interesting sitting here is Billy Webb's director is going to be mad at me. I'm doing more of watching the game than watching the monitor. When we're in the booth, I have a monitor right in front of me. We don't have it here, so I'm spending more time just watching Lee pitch to Rotino.
You know, we get very spoiled because we have that dead-on look from behind home plate. And, you know, it's very easy to read the spin on the curveball and see the location of the pitches. As Rotino hits one in the air to right, and Pence underneath us comes toward the line and makes the grab for the first out. That's the most close-up play we've had tonight.
Well, from this angle, if ever get double plays are sweet. That's Kev.
Kevin Matt Dunn.
He's moving in. Our producer.
Oh, look at Al's waving like we're going to mention him. Okay, Alvin.
No, camera 2.
You know, he was afraid he was going to be lonely tonight because our booth was empty, but Kevin went up there just to keep Al company.
Who's going to get him the Cracker Jacks tonight? He's got no one in there.
I hope somebody left some Tootsie Pops behind.
That's right.
1 out and 1 on. Here's Duda, who took a call 3rd strike his first trip, and he takes a fastball for a strike. Lee just throws first pitch strikes to everybody.
Well, you know, I've said it, you know, for quite some time now that Lucas takes a lot of fastballs, a lot of pitches. This, as a hitter, your approach on Cliff Lee is you're going to get a fastball. And he gets a curve there, so you know.
But I think that you're making your point, Keith. He takes a fastball down the middle and swinging at the curveball. It's got seems backwards, but maybe it's not.
Time for our Toyota tweet of the game. Where at Citi Field would you like us to broadcast from next? Tweet us at SNYTV with the hashtag SNYMets, and we'll read some of your responses later on. And Duda takes low and away, 1-2. Rob Johnson, who had a base hit his first time up, waiting on deck. Mets got a run in the first on David Wright's RBI double. The Phillies immediately tied it on Ty Wigginton's home run, 1-1 in the 4th. And Duda hits it foul off the left side.
Lee wasn't happy with that pitch. You saw his reaction after he threw that. He got it up and too much plate. But really with Duda, Duda's more, if you're throwing it downstairs, Duda's going to hurt you more. I mean, down than up. I think he's got to come in here.
It's the up and in pitch that seems to be his blind spot.
as it is with Neuenhuis.
There you go.
Schneider knocks it down. 2-2. Now Cliff Lee went 22-3 in 2008, but the year before that he was in the minor leagues.
That's right.
A great success story with the Indians. Came over here to the Phillies, Seattle.
6 shutouts last year. That was a major league lead.
Ground ball toward the hole. That's through for a base hit. Hairston pulls in at second. So Lucas Duda with a ground ball single, and the Mets have 2 men on.
Well, fastball in. I had a hunch he was going to come in, but I bet you it's down. Oh, right down the middle. And just enough. There's that hole right there. First baseman holding that runner on.
With that base hit, Duda snaps an 0 for 15 skid. So now the Mets have their 5th hit against Lee, and the tie-breaking run in scoring position with 1 out for Rob Johnson. Johnson singled up the middle his first time up. Now 10 hits in 29 at bats. So for a guy who had never been able to produce much offensively at the major league level, Johnson is stating his case in a short period of time. And he takes a knee-high strike from Lee.
He's one of those blue-collar guys, though, that doesn't mind hard work. Perfect setup for Dave Hudgens and his hard work ethic.
Hairston at second, Duda at first with 1 out. Lee has walked 2, struck out 2. He's got 2 double plays already and looking for a 3rd. Lee has gotten at least 1 ground ball double play in every start he's made this year. With 2 of them today, he's now gotten 14 ground ball double plays in those 8 starts.
Fontenot really playing Johnson up the middle. I know he's the guy that's holding the runner on, but that's a big hole between first and second, and that's something with the angle that we have that you're able to notice that from our perspective.
Johnson chasing, and Lee has his 3rd strikeout.
Well, tight little curveball there. Nice block by Schneider. Fastball's in, fastball's away, fastball's up, and then he drops a deuce in the dirt.
So 2 out and 2 on, and the number 8 hitter Omar Quintanilla comes up for the 2nd time. Quintanilla struck out on a high fastball his first time up after his 3 for 4 night last night.
He stands off the plate against the left-hander.
Just one more note about Lee and double plays. The last time that a Phillies pitcher had 8 straight starts with at least 1 double play, Jim Cott, 1977.
Oh, wow. Kitty.
Of course, with Cott, the game would be in the 9th inning by now. That's our angle as we watch from the Pepsi porch tonight. Hairston at second, Duda at first, Quintanilla at the plate with an 0-1 count. And Omar takes it in the dirt. Schneider gets a piece of it and keeps the runners where they are, 1-1.
We can hear the crowd more out here too, Gary. We're kind of underneath.
Ground ball. Rollins goes the short way for the force play, and the inning's over. Well, Keith, we're in the crowd.
I understand.
We're of the crowd.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
1-1 after 4. finale with insider info and opinion, plus up-to-the-minute Mets news as they get ready for their 4-game set against the Cardinals at Citi Field. On Mets Blog, presented by Verizon, featured on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. 5th inning, Placido Polanco leads off against Dylan G. Polanco grounded out to Murphy his first time up, and he takes ball 1 from G, who's allowed just 2 base runners over the first 4 innings. Wigginton's game-tying home run in the 2nd, Rollins' 2-out single in the 3rd, and that's been it. And so G, who talked after his last start about wanting to establish some consistency, coming off a 7-inning, 1-run, 4-hit, 9-strikeout performance against the Padres, seems to be doing just that. Hit sharply right at David Wright for the first out. So Polanco ripped it. David grabbed it. 1 out in the 5th.
And David has really played an outstanding third base. And there, the hot shot. That's why they call it the hot corner.
Number 5 at position 5 makes the play to start the 5th. Now Mike Fontenot with 1 out and nobody on. Fontenot grounded out to second base his first trip. And a fastball strike. Freddie Galvis getting the night off for the Phillies. He's played in every game for the Phillies so far this year, which for, you know, a 22-year-old kid, it's pretty unusual to play in every one of your team's first 50 games, having never played in the big leagues before.
Well, especially with Fontenot on your team, you know, you want to get him some at-bats also.
It's the 5th start Fontenot has made this year since they called him up about 3 weeks ago. 2-2 now to Fontenot with Brian Schneider, another left-hand hitter waiting on deck. This Phillies team really looks different though without Carlos Ruiz in the lineup. He has been such a mainstay for them, not just this year, but he's hitting better this year. Hit sharply and into right center for a base hit. So Fontenot continues to swing the bat well for the Phillies.
You know, really, this Philly lineup looks a whole lot different, Gary, without Utley and Brian Howard.
Well, I'm just saying, without Utley and Howard, Ruiz has been carrying such a heavy load for them.
Gosh almighty, we've seen these Philly team for so long, not to see Utley and Howard in there.
Well, with Utley and Howard, and especially Howard in that lineup, they're in every game. You know, so they're down 6-0, 2 guys on. Howard can go deep,
especially in their ballpark.
Yep.
Here's Brian Schneider, who struck out his first time up. As your Nissan 5th inning recap, Mets got a run in the first on David Wright's RBI double. Phillies tied it on Wigginton's home run leading off the 2nd, and then it's the rhyming couplet of Lee and G kicking it in gear on both sides. 0-1 to Schneider. Ground ball should be 2. Murphy has no one to throw to and then goes to first. Murphy was unsure as David Wright, who was playing in the shift, came to the bag. And so what should have been a double play turns into simply 1 out.
Well, we'll take a look at the defense here, and you can see Wright in the shortstop position, and the big boo-boo there was,
well, Quintanilla's got to go to the bag.
Quintanilla's got to go to the bag. That is clearly Murphy's ball. And I'm wondering if Quintanilla is unfamiliar with all these shifts. It's not going on in Buffalo, you know.
Yeah.
So the inning continues. Cliff Lee with a runner at second and 2 out.
And Lee can hit.
6 hits already this year. And he takes the curveball outside for ball 1. Lee grounded out to second base his first trip. Lifetime 189 hitter. Has a couple of career home runs. And Lee swings and misses 1-1.
Well, you've got Quintanilla to the right side of second base, and he breaks to the ball. So does Murph, and that's a natural reaction.
Yeah.
You know, it's in his range. And David's coming over.
He was there.
He came over, but he hesitated just a beat because it's really not supposed to be his play.
I'm going to give Murph credit for getting it out, right?
Well, he had presence of mind not to throw the ball when he wasn't sure. Thing with Schneider running, you figure any ground ball is an automatic double play.
You're right. That being said, now, even though the pitcher's up, and Keith already mentioned it, Lee is a fantastic athlete. You know, the go-ahead run, second base.
G ahead of Lee, 1-2. And it hit him.
Oh boy.
Or did it? What exactly happened?
He's saying Ed Rapuano is saying that it hit the bat, not Lee. That ball caromed into Rob Johnson.
So Lee tried to put a little deke. Let's see. Hit the knob of the handle. I bet you. Let's. Yes, it did.
Right off the knob.
Yep.
Charlie Manuel came out to argue briefly, but with very little vehemence.
I will tell you though, when you hit in that situation, Keith will tell you this, when it hits the knob of the bat, sometimes it feels like it did hit your hand.
Yes.
You know, because your hand is on the very end of the bat.
Not much argument from Cliff Lee.
Well, sometimes it can get both.
Yeah.
And pinch you. Your hand gets pinched on the knob.
There's your Coors Light freeze kick. Clearly it came off the knob.
Oh, Cliff's talking to himself.
Or to Rapuano, one or the other. 2-2 now. Jimmy Rollins would be next. G trying to put this inning to bed right here. And Lee goes down swinging to end the inning. Good changeup by G for his 5th strikeout. We're now halfway through. 1-1 ball game. Tonight from the Pepsi porch. Serious business for Cliff Lee. Ty Wigginton hitting a bomb to tie the game. And David Wright hitting one, requiring a different perspective. All fun games, right, guys?
Sure.
1-1 as we go to the bottom of the 5th. Mets and Phillies in the rubber game of this 3-game series. Dylan G will lead off against Cliff Lee after G struck out Lee with the go-ahead run at second to end the top of the inning. G went up there to try and bunt in the second inning, popped the ball up, and Lee made a very good play, letting the ball drop, tagging out G, and then getting the runner Rob Johnson at second base for your garden variety 1-1-6 double play. And G lifts this one down the right field side, headed toward that short fence and out of play.
Well, that's that angle down there, Gary, where the ball boy is down the right field line. We have that view, a perfect angle, that little you see right there where the ball boy is. It's seated. It's an angle we don't get to see behind home plate. The nuances of this ballpark, the asymmetry of it.
The other thing that really jumps out at you when we sit up here and look kind of down the line is G drives one to deep center, but back goes Victorino, and he'll grab it for the first out. The other thing that jumps out is the lack of room between the foul line and the sidewall. You know, it's kind of an area where we lose perspective from where we normally sit behind home plate, but you've got such a narrow strip there going down into the corner.
Well, it gets down in that corner. We lose sight of it. We have to rely on our brilliant director in the truck.
Well, here from where we sit, if it goes in the very deep corner, we'll lose it because it's right underneath us, tucked under the overhang. But we get a perfect view of the left field corner. Andres Torres runs up and takes ball one. Torres is grounded to third and popped up to second, 0 for 2, making his first start since Saturday, as Kirk Neuenhuis has been playing most of the center field. Let's check in with Kevin.
Well, Gary, every Wednesday we take a look at our road to the major leagues, looking at the Mets minors and especially their big pitching prospects with Harvey, Familia, and Wheeler. We take a look at Matt Harvey today, and Harvey just has been on some roll when you look at what he's done recently. 5-0 his last 8 starts with a 2.91 ERA. And here's video from last night's start where he went 6 innings, struck out 5, just 1 run on 3 hits. I talked to Bison's manager Wally Backman today about Harvey. He said his stuff, every pitch is all major league. You're looking at a potential 20-game winner. That being said, I honestly don't think he's ready. You know, you don't want to have a guy go up and go backwards, and for him, he's pitching behind in the count too much. You know, he's fastball command is the thing that I think needs to get better for Matt Harvey. That's what Wally said. He said he had a conversation with him and told him, you know, at this level, there may be 4 or 5 guys that you can just simply overpower with your stuff because his stuff is that good. He said, but when you get to the major league level, there might only be one guy, and that would be the pitcher. So things have to change. You cannot pitch behind that much. That being said, Backman absolutely loves him, loves his work ethic. Said he has really a veteran mentality. His work ethic, second to none. He asks all the right questions, and his composure just tremendous on the mound. So it certainly looks like everything pointing in the right direction, but refinement still in order for Harvey, even though he's been scorching hot in AAA.
Well, you see his numbers so far. I will say and you know, Matt Harvey is a much bigger prospect than I ever was in AAA, but that is the deal. You have to learn how to be able to spot your fastball, be able to throw it for strikes anytime, and you work your secondary pitches off that and work ahead. Now, I didn't do that the first couple of years. It took me a while to learn up here in the big leagues, but I think they're trying to ensure that when Harvey comes up, he's here to stay.
Well, the one thing you noticed in the 6 innings was the 4 walks, Ronnie. Wasn't that one first year you led the league in walks?
Second year.
walks,
yeah,
112?
I was very proficient in both years, to tell you the truth.
And then you turn out to be a very refined pitcher.
Well, Mel had a talk with me. He said, listen, can't happen anymore. Think about it this winter. And I did.
Velocity-wise for Harvey, guys, you know, while he said he's working comfortably around 93, which is, you know, good speed, but it's not, you know, you're not going to come up here. His point is you're not going to come up here and blow everybody away. You got to get ahead.
Hitters are a lot better at this level. It's that simple.
Cliff Lee throws 93.
Lee walked 2 in the first inning. He's behind Murphy 3-1 with Wright on deck, and he throws a fastball that Murphy takes for a strike. Now the 3-2 to Murph. Strike 3 call. Well, they fell behind 3-1, and Murphy takes 2 fastballs, and the Mets are out with 0 runs, 0 hits, 0 errors. Pepsi Max, 0 calories, maximum Pepsi taste. Jimmy Rollins leads off the 6th inning for the Phillies. Rollins has one of the 3 Philadelphia hits. Reached out into the opposite batter's box and stroked one to left his last time up.
And a big shift for Rollins again as David Wright is in the shortstop's position. They are way over for the pull.
That's why Jimmy's hitting 220 because he's become using half the field.
I mean, you never would have been able to do this
in his prime.
In past seasons. Going back to his MVP year.
That is a great shot right there with Murph's back in the pitcher. Murph out in the outfield grass around 15 feet off the infield.
Even with the speed of Rollins. And that's lashed the other way. So Rollins proving that the shift is not the right way to go is now 2 for 3. And it's almost as though he's doing it to prove a point. Well, this is where we are tonight in the Pepsi porch. Glad to be up here amongst all of our friends and having a unique perspective on the game from one of Citi Field's really iconic locations. The Pepsi porch, the overhang that was modeled after the old Tiger Stadium, where you could hit a home run off the porch after an outfielder camped under the ball thinking he was going to catch it.
That's right.
So a leadoff hit for Rollins, and now Juan Pierre takes a strike.
I used to remember Tiger Stadium, the friendly center field, 440.
Friendly for pitchers.
Yeah, well, that's the only perspective I'm looking at it from.
Beautiful bunt by Pierre. G has to pick it up and then throws it away. And everybody's safe. Well, if he had let it roll, there was a chance it was going to continue to curve foul, but G didn't want to take that chance.
If we had the angle here, looking right down the line, it hit the lip. I think it would have gone foul. And another thing here, too, the inexperience of Rotino at first. You've got to anticipate that G's momentum is going to carry him into foul territory. You shift out as a first baseman into foul territory. Makes an easier throw for G. You see Rotino on the fair ball side of first base.
And you also saw that he didn't get the grip he would have wanted when he picked that ball up.
You just know the pitcher's going to, momentum's going to carry him in foul territory. So you slide out into foul territory, make an easier throw for him.
Al Jackson told me if you're fielding a bunt and the runner is by you, you let it go and try to let it go foul. If he's even with you, you pick it up, you have a chance to get him out.
So it's a bunt single for Pierre. 2 on and nobody out. A crisis for G here in the 6th. And Hunter Pence lashes one to short, should be 2. Quintanilla to Murphy and on to first for double play. Exactly what Dylan G needed. First pitch, Hunter Pence hits into a 6-4-3.
Well, he hits a bullet right here, and G went right after him with a sinker, Ronnie. Get the ground ball down and in sync.
And not an easy hop for Quintanilla, who had to really reel that into his midsection and then made a nice accurate throw, and Murph with a strong throw to first base.
A lot of shortstops might have gotten handcuffed on that ball. But here's G picking up that ball. Look at his fingers.
Fork ball.
Split finger.
Oh.
Not the way you are recommended to try and pick that ball up.
Circle change.
So 2 out. Rollins now at 3rd. And here's Ty Wigginton, who's had himself quite a series. 6 RBIs on Monday. A home run in the 2nd inning today for the Phillies' only run.
Of course, it's Ty Wigginton up.
See how carefully G works him here with Victorino on deck.
Hanging slider.
Well, he's made this ballpark look small the last 3 days.
7 RBIs in the series for Wigginton. Two balls and a strike. Rollins at 3rd with 2 down. 1-1 game in the 6th. And Wigginton fooled. 2-2.
Well, good pitch here from Dillon with the changeup. One thing we've learned from Wigginton, though, in this series, 2 strikes, he sets his sights, hitting the ball to up the middle of the right side. There's a sign from Johnson for G. Fastball away.
Mets continue to play him to pull, though. And Wigginton fouls off the fastball. 94 from Dillon. So continues to up the ante tonight.
Boy, twice with the slider. Johnson really wanted the slider, back to the fastball for Dillon.
Got beat on the slider by Wigginton earlier, so the fastball's fouled off.
And again, 94. You know what that tells me with the shakes by Dillon? He knows he's throwing a little harder tonight, too.
2 out of the strike zone, up in the strike zone.
Back with the changeup.
G struck out a career high 9 in his last start. He's fanned 5 tonight. And Wigginton lashes one foul. Got out ahead of that changeup and hit a bullet. And that will require a conversation.
Yeah. Well, I think when you're in this kind of game, and you know the Phillies have been fighting to score runs. Victorino is not hitting as strongly from the left side. You got to put all those factors. Wigginton's having a big series. He's seen it well. You know, don't give in. Don't say just because it's 2-2, I'm going to throw a strike here. Make him chase something out of the strike zone.
G at 93 pitches for the night. Now a full count to Wigginton. Well, Victorino's 0 for 10 in this series. He's waiting on deck.
I knew it wasn't going to be a fastball.
This time Johnson emphatic about the slider, and G nods agreement. And it just missed ball 4. First walk of the night for Dylan G. Runners at the corners with 2 out. Right now it's checking with the studio Chris Carlin for a Fuji Film game break. Marlins come into the night just a game and a half behind the Nats, tied with the Mets for second place. Here's Victorino, first and third and 2 out. And G gets a strike with a changeup. Victorino is grounded to first, flying to center, 0 for 2.
Keith holding Wigginton on. You like that? He's not that fast. You can't play behind him. Maybe give you a little extra room at first.
I think you still got to hold him.
Okay.
Just come off the bag. And something Martino is not really a first baseman. He's not really coming out hard off that bag. It's a position made for a first baseman. You know, it's easier for you to plant that foot with the glove in your right hand and push out and cover that hole.
And again, you got Murph playing in the outfield against a very speedy hitter. Hit sharply right at Murphy. Again, positioned perfectly. Side retired. Dylan G in and out of trouble in the 6th inning. Helped out by a double play. The Phillies strand 2. Still 1-1. hard iced tea. Cal Ripken's streak began 30 years ago today. And if Prince Fielder keeps playing every day, he'll break it in 15 years. He's got the longest current streak going.
That streak began at third base.
David Wright leads off in the home 6th inning in a 1-1 game. David has driven in the only Met run tonight with a double off the fence in center field in the first, getting Murphy barely home from first. Cliff Lee has stymied the Mets since. David grounded into a double play in his other at bat in the third. And the curveball in the dirt swung and missed. 0-2. Wright, Hairston, and Rotino for the Mets against Lee in the 6th.
Fastball away, taken for a strike. Curveball in the dirt, swung over.
You know, when David was raging hot, you just never saw him swinging at pitches in the dirt. But those things, I guess, can't last forever.
Level of pitcher has gone up a notch too, Gary.
Hairston to follow.
David had an awesome start to this season over what, six weeks, 7 weeks. He's due for a little dry spell.
Strike 3 call. And David not in agreement with Ed Rapuano.
I thought that pitch was not only up but in. Let's take a look.
Well, it's not up, but it's belt high.
Yeah.
Let's see if it got the corner. No, it did.
6 strikeouts for Lee, 3 in a row now. Well, strikeouts over the last 5 decades have been steadily on the rise. And I think that we can probably come up with a number of reasons to explain why strikeouts have become so much more prevalent in the game.
Can we run that graphic back up there again? You know, you got to remember too, is that you had expansion of 4 teams in the 90s. But that's a double-edged sword. You've got players that offensively that don't belong in the big leagues with the 4 expansion teams, but also pitchers, Ronnie.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of philosophical reasons as well for why strikeouts have gone up, both from the hitting side and the pitching side.
Well, there's a lot more computers now. They chart pitches, and they got a lot more guessing. I've never seen tonight. How many called third strikes we got tonight? We got quite a few. Where guys, I think, just are looking, they're taking fastballs, are looking for a breaking ball with 2 strikes, and you know it starts 2-0 taking a fastball down the pipe, thinking they're going to get a changeup. So you know they have their charts back there, and I think there's a lot more. I guess it's like rolling the dice.
Ripped to left field, and that ball's going to get down and go to the wall off the bat of Scott Hairston. And Scott in easily with a 1-out double. So Hairston has his 2nd hit of the night. After homering in 3 straight games, tonight a single and a double.
Boy, he has just been fabulous. Right down the pipe, and that's belt high, and that's his happy area. So Cliff Lee's lucky he didn't lift this. But this is a bullet, and he just continues to rake. And right there, boy, that is just right down Broadway, and he's just covers it. Mr. Hairston.
Scott continues to tear up left-handed pitching. Tie-breaking run at 2nd with 1 out, and Vinny Rotino the batter. Vinny has walked and flied to right. I think when you talk about the proliferation of strikeouts, you also have to look at it from the pitching side. You know, we've talked about over the last 5 decades how many fewer complete games they are. That means you've got starting pitchers going out there and throwing as hard as they can for as long as they can, and then you've got multiple hard throwers coming in late in the game.
I mean, if you looked at Tim Burdak's stuff, right, you wouldn't say that he would be a strikeout pitcher. But the way he's used, he's become a strikeout phenomenon. Strikes out almost everyone he faces.
Rotino pops it up. Rollins retreating and puts it away for the 2nd out.
You know, Gary, I'll just add something real quick. I would rather face Steve Carlton with no-hit stuff and get 4 at-bats off him than get 4 separate pitchers in the course of a game. Unless, of course, they were power bucks.
Well, and that's the other piece, is that with so many more teams, you see most of the teams so much less. So as a hitter, you're less familiar with a lot of the pitchers you're facing.
With the 3 divisions, you don't get a feel for the other 2 divisions.
So now Duda with a runner at second and 2 down. Lucas singled to right his last time up, 1 for 2 on the night.
And Duda socks one to deep right center. Back goes Pence looking up, and it's out of here. Lucas Duda with a 2-run homer off Cliff Lee, and the Mets take the lead. It's 3-1. No waiting around for Duda. First pitch swinging, his 6th home run of the year, and it's 3-1 New York.
Well, we've talked about Lucas taking, and there he kind of gets a good sneak attack. Wants to come inside with the fastball. It's in, but not in. It's in, and he just gets the barrel out. And it's a rare time that Lucas attacks on a first pitch. Oh boy, I'll make that pitcher happy right there.
So G now has the lead. There's Rob Johnson, and he golfs one foul. That was not a bad pitch by Cliff Lee, I didn't think, Ronnie.
But it was the 3rd first pitch fastball to Duda. He took the first 2 in his first 2 at bats. He was laying in wait on the 3rd at bat and was aggressive, like Keith said.
Mets continue to attack with 2 outs. 110 runs with 2 outs this year, the most in the majors. 2-strike count to Johnson.
If Duda wasn't a young player, you would think that he set him up for that one swing.
Well, maybe it was as simple as going back and watching his first 2 at bats, seeing the pitch pattern, and anticipating what was coming next. And that, I think, is the flip side of, all that study. Sometimes you can gain information that results in what we just saw. And Johnson down on strikes to end the inning. 7 strikeouts for Lee, but Cliff Lee, who hasn't won this year, finds himself behind again. Courtesy of Lucas Duda, showing off his strength. His 6th home run of the year, a 2-run shot, and it's 3-1 New York after 6. Every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. Mets are off tomorrow after 20 straight days with games. Start a 4-game set with the Cardinals on Friday night, then go to Washington, Yankee Stadium, and Tampa Bay on a 9-game road trip. So Dylan G staked to a 2-run lead as we start the 7th. And Placido Polanco takes a changeup for ball one.
And Ronnie, you know one thing right now. Your team gets you a couple runs on the board. You got to run a goose egg up there.
G about to throw his 100th pitch of the night. And Polanco takes it low, and so G behind 2-0. Bullpen stays busy. Bobby Parnell, Tim Burdett behind G, who's allowed 1 run and 5 hits over the first 6 innings. And Polanco has to spin away. It's 3-0.
You know, it's interesting against Polanco with Murphy back and you got Torres and Duda in. They're trying to form that little triangle to take away right center. A real strength for Polanco, trying to shut it down.
In the air, shallow right into that triangle. And Murphy's got it. Nice call, Ronnie. 1 away.
Well, good pitch here by Dylan G. And you can see always trying to fight that ball to the right side. And Murph has really impressed me with his range on the pop-up behind second base.
Antonio Bastardo up in the Phillies bullpen. Pitcher due up 4th here in the 7th. Here's Mike Fontenot, who singled to center field his last time up, 1 for 2.
Torres playing a real shallow center field, and you see him right there in the middle of your screen. You can pan to your right, Pete, a little bit. That's a lot of center field behind him with a 2-run lead.
And he just crept forward with 2 strikes on Fontenot. Another changeup and a ground ball for Murphy to handle, and he throws out Fontenot 2 away. So G, after being handed the lead, has retired the first 2 in the 7th, and now he'll try and get through Brian Schneider, who has struck out and grounded out tonight, 0 for 2.
That puts Murphy in the lead, Gary. He's had more ground balls fielded on grass this year than any other second baseman in the league.
The only second baseman of recent vintage that I can recall playing that deep was Ronnie Belliard. Later in his career, he used to play very deep. And Schneider takes a strike. For the moment, Cliff Lee is out on deck, but it's hard to believe Charlie Manuel would send him up there down by 2 runs in the 7th. Phillies have simply not scored for Lee this year, and that's the case again tonight. Of course, you know, for Lee, those emotions of being winless kind of bubbled over when he's had that dugout spat with Shane Victorino recently. 1-2 now to Schneider.
When teams are struggling, it leads to frustration, and you have to really watch out not to take out those emotions on your teammates.
I guess he could get on Victorino again. He's 0 for 3 tonight. Off the corner to Schneider, 2-2.
We give up a 2-run bomb in the 6th. There's only one person you can look at. That's in the mirror.
Now the 2-2 to Schneider. Laced in the air, deep center field. Back goes Torres, edge of the track, over his head. He stumbles, retrieves. Schneider into second with a 2-out double. So Brian Schneider has his 2nd hit in the series. They've both gone for extra bases.
Well, we noted earlier how he likes to play a shallow center field here, and I just really think when you this late in the ball game, you got a 7th inning, top of the 7th, you got to play a little bit deeper, nothing that gets over your head, particularly with 2 outs.
So Schneider with a 2-out double, tying run coming to bat. Lee was in the on-deck circle. He was called back in favor of Carlos Ruiz, who has sat out this entire series with a hamstring injury. And with Ruiz coming up, Bobby Parnell will come in to replace Dylan G. Another terrific effort for G tonight. The call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon Fios. Welcome to America's fastest, most consistent, most reliable internet. Welcome to Life on Fios. Bobby Parnell in to pitch to the pinch hitter Carlos Ruiz, who's having a stellar season. Tying run at the plate in a 3-1 game, and a curveball in for a strike, 0-1.
Those are nice numbers right there for Dylan G. That one walk, getting into the 7th inning. Bobby Parnell pitched an efficient inning in last night's ball game.
Worked a 1-2-3 7th against the lower third of the order last night. Ruiz 1 for 4 as a pinch hitter this year, but he has really been carrying the Philadelphia offense in the absence of Utley and Howard. Look at those numbers. He's 33 years old. He's never been an all-star. He's going to be one this year. So Cliff Lee is out of the game. His only chance to win is if he gets 3 runs right now.
Ruiz golfs one to deep left field. Back goes Hairston at the wall. It's out of here. Carlos Ruiz with a pinch hit 2-run homer, and the Phillies tie the game at 3. Met fans booing, Philly fans chooching. It's a 2-run homer for Ruiz to get the Phillies even. He has been spectacular.
Nails. Boy, oh boy, a hanging curveball right down Broadway. Well, that makes your manager look like a genius.
And with that goes Dylan G's chance to win this game.
Oh boy, hanging there right on a tee.
And Parnell knew it from the moment he threw the pitch.
Yeah.
Only the 2nd home run he's allowed this year. So Ruiz held out because of the hamstring. Didn't need to run hard. Jimmy Rollins takes the fastball for ball 1. So the first run is charged to G, so he gives up 2 runs and 6 hits over 6 2/3. And Parnell gets tagged for the home run. Rollins pops one up. Johnson sheds the mask and should have room. Side retired, but not before Carlos Ruiz ties up the ball game. Parnell knew it. 3-3, 7th inning stretch at Citi Field.
At Citi Field to take on the Cardinals for a weekend series, wraparound series at that. And as we just saw Carlos Ruiz doing the damage for the Phillies, you look at the other great catcher in the National League, it's Yadier Molina. He has really powered this Cardinals team. It's amazing. As he gets older, we know he's a terrific defensive catcher. His offense has gotten better and better. Until last year's career high in home runs was 7. He had 14 last year. He's got 8 this year. Coming into tonight's game against the Braves, who's at a 337 clip. The guy is playing phenomenal. He and Ruiz getting better as catchers as they get older, which is just a phenomenon. I talked to Derek Gould of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and he said, you know, the one thing is he never had a consistent batting stance. Actually, he tried to mimic Pujols for a while and finally got rid of that last year and had a stance that was similar, and it worked for him. You know, the other thing is coaches told him, you're not up there, don't try and just make contact. Get balls you can drive. They figured that when he was making contact, he got a lot of ground balls, and with his speed, it was an automatic out. So he's been a little bit more selective, and boy, has it paid off. Guys, about 10 feet over to you.
Thanks, Scott. Omar Quintanilla leads off the home 7th against the new Phillies pitcher Antonio Bastardo. Quintanilla has struck out and hit into a fielder's choice tonight, 0 for 2. And that one's driven out to center field. Back goes Victorino and puts it away for the first out.
I've noticed Victorino playing a lot deeper, and Quintanilla, not a guy with any power, but playing a little bit deeper, more conservative with a tie ball game late.
Now Jordani Valdespin will bat for Bobby Parnell. Valdespin just rejoined the Mets today with Ronnie Cedeno placed on the disabled list with a strained calf. Valdespin has had only 2 hits in the big leagues, and one of them was a 3-run homer to beat the Phillies in a game. So he bats here in a tie game in the 7th inning against the lefty Bastardo. And if you're wondering why a left-hand pinch hitter, well, the Mets only have one right-handed bat on their bench tonight, and that's their catcher Mike Nickias. So Parnell faces 2 batters, gives up the 2-run homer to Ruiz to tie the game. He's out, and John Roush gets ready to pitch the 8th. And Bastardo falls behind Valdespin 2-0. Andres Torres waiting on deck. So Cliff Lee will go an 8th start without a victory, but at least for him, he's off the hook thanks to Ruiz's pinch hit home run.
I'm just thinking, would you be tempted to hit Neuenhuis here? Only because Torres is coming up, and you could make kind of a double switch, put Neuenhuis in the field. The reason I'm thinking is you'd like to have Valdespin ready if Papelbon pitches in this ball game.
Big cut by Jordani. He was thinking Pepsi Porch. 2-2.
Well, it's hard against Bastardo. Left-handed hitters are 2 for 21 against him.
Valdespin, in addition to his big league home run this year, has 4 in the minor leagues. He broke out power-wise last year. Showed that he can hit the long ball. Now the 2-2, and he goes down swinging. So Bastardo takes care of Valdespin, and there are 2 out.
Looks like Bastardo's throwing a little harder, Ron, than the last time we saw him.
Well, I think the last time we saw him, Keith, he had been really overworked in that bullpen. Now getting a lot more specialty kind of innings with the 4 left-handers.
Well, they have certainly fortified their bullpen. There's Roy Halladay now on the disabled list for the Phillies. So now Torres is 0 for 3 tonight, and he lines one over the glove of Polanco and into left field. A base hit for Torres, and the Mets have a 2-out base runner. So the Mets have their 8th hit of the night. Well, Andres Torres was brought here in part because of his speed. We have seen him do very little base stealing in his first year as a Met. He had the calf injury in spring and again in April. So he's stolen only 2 bases. This would be a spot to steal one.
And I know it's a left-hander, but Bastardo does not have a good move to first base.
Daniel Murphy, the batter, has walked and singled 1 for 2 tonight. And Torres was moving back to the bag as Bastardo threw that pitch.
You can really see that from here, can't you, Gary?
It's almost like if you really want to see the move, take a enormously big lead and didn't get back, anticipate getting back just to see the move.
A ball and a strike to Murphy. Trying to get it to David Wright here in the 7th. One, and Bastardo misses away. 2 balls and a strike to Murphy. Cliff Lee went 6 innings, allowed 3 runs, 7 hits, a walk, 7 strikeouts, and a home run. Lucas Duda's 2-run shot in the 6th gave the Mets the 2-run lead, and Ruiz's 2-run homer got it right back. Twice the Mets have taken the lead in this game, and in each case the Phillies were able to tie it in the next half inning.
Well, that was a nice swing by Murph. Remember, in his last at bat against Lee, he took a 3-1 fastball for a strike and a 3-2 fastball for a strike. Here on a 2-1 count, lets it fly.
Now the 2-2, and it's off the plate. Slider from Bastardo, and it's a full count. So now Torres will be in motion. Give him a chance to score on something in the gap. Wigginton continuing to hold him on so he can't get too far away. 3-2 to Murphy, and a high fly ball hit to right field. Should be easy for Pence right underneath us. Pence puts it away to retire the side. So a base hit and 1 left. 7 in the books now at Citi Field. Mets and Phillies still tied at 3. The Pepsi Porch is brought to you by Pepsi Max. 0 calories, maximum Pepsi taste. By Kia Motors. And by Geico. 8th inning in a 3-3 game. John Roush is on to pitch for New York. Roush worked a scoreless inning last night. Juan Pierre, first man up against him, takes a strike. Pierre had a bunt single his last time up.
Roush's numbers here during the season. Only 4 walks in his 21 innings.
With the corners creeping in, Pierre again shows bunt. Pierre, Pence, and Wigginton up for the Phillies in the 8th. And it's lashed toward the hole. A base hit for Pierre. So Juan Pierre continues to produce his second hit of the night, and the Phillies have the time-breaking run aboard in the 8th.
It's not that difficult. He pulls you in with the threat of the bunt. You have to be on the grass, David Wright. And what's he do, Keith?
Cut and slash. That's what he's done his whole career. Line drive hitter. And a threat to steal.
6 steals this year, 560 in his career. Hunter Pence, the batter. First pitch swinging, grounded into a double play his last time up. And he lines one right center toward the gap, base hit. Cut off by Torres. Pierre heads for third. Pence stops at first, and the Phillies have runners at the corners and nobody out.
Well, Pence, who had a miserable day going for himself with 2 strikeouts and a double play, the big redeemer. Late in the game, this is always the best 1 for 4. Fastball up in the strike zone, goes right with it. And Pierre, it's automatic. Well, the Mets are not going to bring the infield in here. They're going to play back for 2. And even Wright is back.
So the Phillies poised to take the lead for the first time today, and the biggest bat in this series, Ty Wigginton, comes up and takes a strike at the knees from Roush. Wigginton homered back in the 2nd inning, struck out and then walked in the 6th. Tim Burdock staying busy in the bullpen. You have the switch hitting Victorino on deck. 1st and 3rd and nobody out. And Pence dives back in.
That's a good move there by Roush to keep Pence close. That fake the third first move could work against a guy like Pence, who's very skittish on the bases.
Move they're considering outlawing after this season. And Wigginton gets tied up, but it's off the plate. A ball and a strike.
Let's come after him inside 2 pitches in a row.
2-0 slider then here, Keith.
Good. Pound him in. You called it, Ronnie. You see, that's why you were a pitcher.
I should have been relaying it to you on the at the plate.
Well, it's a big pitch here now, 2-1. Every pitch is big now, this late in the ball game.
2-1 to Wigginton, and he fouls it off. 2-2.
The first maybe bad swing we've seen from Wigginton these last 3 days. And 2 strikes, big hole between Rotino and Daniel Murphy.
Now the 2-2.
Yes.
Strike 3 call. Got him looking at the fastball. Roush ran it on the inside edge again, and that's the first out of the inning.
Good pitching.
Just great pitching, Keith. Only 11 strikeouts for Roush in 21 innings, but he gets one when he needs one.
That's paint. Hitter's going to be invulnerable inside with 2 strikes.
So now 1st and 3rd and 1 out. Shane Victorino, who's 0 for 11 in this series, and it makes you wonder, would Charlie Manuel think about a squeeze play with Victorino not swinging the bat particularly well?
I don't think with his speed they're going to have a hard time doubling him up. Mets playing back for 2. Wright now has come in at the corner.
Pierre with his speed at 3rd. Pence, who also runs well at 1st with 1 out.
Murphy's in more though than Quintanilla.
Yep, really shortened up, as though he could come home on a hard hit ball. It's a tough call though with Victorino running. If you get a hard hit ball right at you, do you go home with it or try and get double play?
Well, they've shortened him up now, Murphy. So if the ball's hit hard, yes, get 2.
One hopper, yeah.
Yep. If it's a bullet, get 2. But anything that's intermediate in speed, you can go home.
Really requires that instant judgment.
Correct. And it also makes you vulnerable left or right of Murphy.
So Victorino's good numbers against Roush, 5 for 12. And he bounces one, and a nice stop by Johnson to keep the runners pinned.
You know, the other play that comes into play here, good stop by Johnson. Ball hits in front of the plate.
Beautiful.
Boy, picture perfect. So Murphy's so far in. A ground ball to him. The tag play on Pence. The throw to first base comes into play also.
Now it's 2-1 to Victorino.
And he lines one center field. Torres right there has it. Pierre tags at third. He heads for the plate, and it's not in time, and the Phillies take the lead. Sacrifice fly for Shane Victorino, and the Phillies lead for the first time tonight, 4-3.
Well, fastball up over the plate, wanted it away. You're not going to get Pierre with his speed.
What are you doing diving in head first?
Yep.
You get hurt that way.
Just takes an extra step there for Andres to get rid of that ball to home.
So it's 4-3 Philadelphia. Penn still at first with 2 out. And now Polanco the batter.
Watch the backswing here. Keep your eye on Johnson's mask. Oh, got him.
Adding injury to insult. Drives in the go-ahead run and whacks the catcher at the same time.
Keep an eye on Pence here. Only got 3 stolen bases, but this is the time to try to steal one.
Especially with Polanco down in the count, right, Keith?
And he's not a power hitter, line drive hitter. Not a big lead.
Ooh. It's an ugly swing for Polanco.
You don't see that too often.
Well, especially since it wasn't 2 strikes. I mean, it's just not very Polankish. Cliff Lee not in line for the win, but at least he's not going to lose. Ground ball toward the middle of the diamond. Quintanilla with the flip to Murphy for the force play, and the inning is over. But the Phillies take the lead, 4-3 Philly in the middle of the 8th. Phillies series finale with insider info and opinion, plus heated debate on the Devils in the Stanley Cup Finals in the Wheelhouse, presented by Pepsi, tomorrow at 5:30 only on SNY. 40-year-old Jose Contreras comes on to pitch for the Phillies in the home 8th.
Well, he's a setup man for Papelbon in the bullpen for the Philadelphia Phillies. In 2005 as a World Series champion with the Chicago White Sox when he won 15 games.
Jake Diekman is up in the bullpen for the Phillies with an eye toward possible pinch hitters. Mets have Davis, Neuenhuis, and Baxter on the bench. David Wright leads off with Hairston and Rotino scheduled to follow. David 1 for 3 tonight, drove in the Mets' first run with a double to center field in the first. And Contreras misses outside, ball 1. Well, Bastardo is 40. The oldest pitcher in the game today was designated for assignment. Jamie Moyer, let go by the Colorado Rockies. It was a nice run, but it looks like it might be over for Mr. Moyer. You don't suppose anybody else will take a flyer, do you? 2-0 now to David.
There's been so many injuries, you never know.
Speaking of elderly pitchers, Miguel Batista pitched at Binghamton tonight in his rehab stint, gave up 5 runs in 7 innings. Now the 2-0, and Wright takes a strike. Mets are going to have to decide between Batista and Hefner next time around in the rotation on Monday against the Cardinals. Mets down for the first time tonight. Mets led 1-0. Phillies tied it. Led 3-1. Phillies tied it. Now the Phillies lead 4-3. And David has to eject 3-1.
Okay, up and in. I wanted to come inside. Now, do you want to look middle in here and try to tie ball game up 3-1? Or do you want to look away and look to get a leadoff double, go the opposite direction? I say they're going to keep the ball away from him.
On 3-1, David breaks his bat, loops one to the second baseman Fontenot, 1 away.
Well, there's a situation where they set up outside, Ron, and he ran it up and in.
Well, he didn't mean to run it up and in. He
Right.
just came off the ball and it just came inside. David looking away. Well, that's some sawed-off lumber right there.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Scott Hairston, who's having another big night, a single and a double, and he has good career numbers against Contreras, 2 for 6 with a home run, and that's why Scott is left in to bat here.
Just even if Scott Hairston had bad numbers against Contreras, you've got to let him hit. He's red hot and been hitting with power.
Homered in 3 straight games coming into tonight, and he takes a fastball for a strike. Tonight's AT&T trivia question: the only 3 players to appear in an all-star game for both the Mets and the Phillies. I got 2. Hairston with a big rip. 0-2.
I think I got 1. Gary?
Yes.
Okay.
Now Contreras ahead 0-2 on Hairston.
Oh.
And that skips to the backstop. Antonio Bastardo's now pitcher of record on the long side for the Phillies. He worked the 7th, allowed no runs in 1 hit. Then the Phillies got him the lead. Mets trying to fight back in the bottom of the 8th. One, 2, and Hairston down on strikes. Schneider slaps on the tag to make it official, and now there are 2 out in the inning.
Well, this is a curveball. Oh, it's a splitter.
Yeah.
Just dropped out.
Well, let's answer that AT&T trivia question. The only 3 players to appear in an all-star game for the Mets and the Phillies. Well, Richie Ashburn has to be 1. Tug McGraw. Forgot about Billy Wagner.
I didn't get Wagner.
I didn't get any of them.
Well, Vinny Rotino will stay in to bat against Contreras. 0 for 2 and a walk. Interesting call here. You've got 3 quality left-handed bats on the bench, but if you're Terry Collins, you know that if you send one of those guys up, they're going to bring in Diekman, the left-hander. Francisco and Burdack up in the Mets bullpen. And Rotino can't hold up.
And I think the other factor, Gary, is that with a team with Not a lot of power. Obviously, the guys that have been the hottest with power have been Rutino and Hairston.
It's funny how a season goes, isn't it?
Right.
Rutino, a guy you wouldn't have thought of 2 weeks ago, and all of a sudden, a power threat late in the game to be relished. That splitter is a dangerous weapon.
It sure is. Bottom's dropping out. Another one.
Boy, it's like a knuckleball almost. That's the split finger I was looking for 10 years. Throw that one. Gee.
Starts with that split grip. 1-2 to Rutino, and he lines one foul.
You got to be careful with that splitter. You hang it like that, it sits there on the tee.
You were saying, Gary, it's interesting. Here's Rutino. See how that ball will leave your fingers and it'll start tumbling to the plate.
That didn't do anything.
It's hard for the hitter to recognize spin, and the arm speed should be as good as your fastball. That's the deception.
1-2, and Rutino takes the fastball. Did he go? No swing. 2-2.
So Rutino didn't start with the team. It's been back and forth. He's left in the bat against a right-hander because of his power, and has already had a 3-0 swing today.
Lucas Duda on deck, so this is probably Contreras' last batter with a lefty up in the bullpen. 2-2, and again it's high. So a full count to Rutino. So Vinny's worked his way back into it. Duda, who's already homered tonight, waiting on deck. Contreras with a 3-2, and Rutino goes down swinging to end the inning. An impressive inning for Jose Contreras, a broken bat and 2 strikeouts. To the 9th, 4-3 Phils. To broadcast from next after our venture into the Pepsi porch tonight, and here's some of your answers. The Great Wall of Flushing in left field, the Party City deck sounds like a great idea.
Yes, yeah, low, be a low view down there.
That's an unlimited section, right?
Yeah.
We should broadcast from center field next to the Big Apple.
On top of it, so when they hit a home run, we raise.
Some people think we've already been elevated way too far.
But at least no one said Omaha, so I think we're all right.
That would be a great spot. It'd be a very low perspective.
I expected someone to say we should go across the street.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Tim Burdack on to pitch for the Mets as we go to the 9th inning.
Just outstanding all season long. Look at those strikeouts, the innings pitched, and the batting averages against. Burdack having a fine season.
Freddie Galvis will bat for Mike Fontenot to give them a right-handed bat and better defense at second base in the 9th inning. Galvis started the first 2 games of the series, went 0 for 9. Brian Schneider on deck, and then the pitcher spot here in the top of the 9th for the Phils. Jonathan Papelbon getting ready for the save opportunity in the Phillies bullpen. Papelbon save chances against the Mets, not always so good. 2 balls and a strike. Which backup catcher might do some damage against him tonight?
You're channeling O'Meara.
You don't think that Papelbon's thinking about Santos and Valdespin when he faces the Mets?
I think Papelbon's thinking about a redeemer.
Exactly.
I remember our hitting instructor, I'll say instructor because he didn't like coach, the late Bill Robinson. He used to always say in the bench when you'd face a closer, we got to beat a closer a couple of times this year. Why not tonight? It's been perfect so far this year in his save opportunities. Has Papelbon.
Galvis hooks one foul, and it's 3-2. SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Now Burdack's gone 3-2 to his first hitter. And the pitch to Galvis is low ball 4. And the Phillies looking for some insurance have the leadoff man on in the 9th. Let's check in with the studio, see what's going to be coming up on WB Mason Postgame Live. Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda, guys. Here's Brian Schneider. Had a big hit for the Phillies in the 7th inning, doubling beyond the reach of Torres in center field, and was followed by Carlos Ruiz's tying pinch hit home run.
Got to believe they're going to bunt here.
Ramon Ramirez, Chris Schwinden up in the Mets bullpen behind Burdack. Throw to first. Pitcher spot due up next. John Mayberry is out on deck to bat for Contreras, who looked awfully good in the bottom of the 8th. Another throw over, and Galvis back.
You know, coming into this game, the last 11 games for the Philly bullpen, they've really turned it on. 2.23 ERA. 4 walks and 38 Ks coming into this game.
Bunted nicely. Burdack has to field it. Murphy covers 1-4 on the sacrifice, moving Galvis to second. So now runner in scoring position. John Mayberry will be the pinch hitter.
How about the 3 games Brian Schneider has played in this series? Pretty impressive.
Well, with the right-hand pinch hitter introduced into the game, Terry Collins will take the baseball from Tim Burdack. He had Ramirez up in the bullpen. He's coming in. 1 out of the 9th. Phillies lead by a run. We'll be right back to Citi Field. in this series.
Well, he's been so much more impressive over his last 16 outings. 13 of those he has not allowed a run.
Galvis at second with 1 out. John Mayberry up to pinch hit. Mayberry 3 for 15 as a pinch hitter this year, and 1 for 3 in his career against Ramon Ramirez. So the Mets bullpen, which was sparkling last night, not faring quite so well tonight. Parnell giving up the tying home run, Roush giving up the go-ahead run, and Burdack walking the leadoff hitter in the 9th.
And you can see Murph way up the middle. Galvis is maybe a minor threat to steal. I doubt it. This is just a shift, basically. Big hole for Mayberry, that right side.
By the way, I just want to take a moment to thank the folks at Pepsi and everybody at SNY who worked so hard to make this Pepsi Porch broadcast possible tonight. There was so much hard work involved just to set up all the wiring and the lighting and the monitors. I mean, it seems like it's a seamless operation, but it is amazing how many people had to do so much hard work just to get us up here and enable us to have the fun that we're having tonight. Citi Field building operations people also had a big hand in that, so thank you to all of them. And maybe they'll invite us back again. Jimmy Rollins on deck. One coming to Mayberry. And Ramirez missing high, 2-1. What happened to the Seattle Mariners tonight? They lead Texas 17-0 in the 4th inning. That's not a misprint. 8 in the 2nd, 8 in the 3rd, 1 in the 4th.
Wow.
Jesus Montero 3 for 3, a homer, 4 RBIs already.
Who took gas for the Texas Rangers?
That was Mr. Derek Holland tonight.
Oh.
But he's had some help now. Mayberry lines one into center field for a base hit. Around third is Galvis. He'll stop there. Hairston hits the cutoff man, and the Phillies have runners at the corners with 1 out. So Mayberry with a pinch hit single.
High fastball. Too much plate. Nice charge by Hairston prevents Galvis from scoring.
Mayberry's had some better swings in this series, hasn't he?
He sure has. Hit the big home run.
Yep.
So now the Phillies poised to add some insurance here in the 9th.
And in at the corners, holding the runner on third, right end, playing back for 2 up the middle. Tough guy to double up here.
Rollins 2 for 4 tonight. Both his singles have gone to left field. And he pulls off that changeup, 0-1. Well, this is how the first game of this series went. Into the 9th inning with the Mets down by a run, and Ty Wiggins in at a 3-run homer to put the game away. Ramirez trying to avoid a similar fate in the 9th inning tonight. And a fake to third, throw to first, but Mayberry not fooled. Again, that's a play the Rules Committee is considering banning next year. One and 1 to Rollins.
When you look at the outfield arms for the Mets, Hairston doesn't throw particularly well. Neither does Torres. The best arm in the outfield is Lucas Duda in right field.
And he got a lot of speed at third base, and Galvis trying to score on a fly ball. And Rollins cracks one to deep right field, heading toward the Pepsi porch, and it's out of here. Fumbled away by the fan, but it's a 3-run homer by Jimmy Rollins, and the Mets bullpen has fumbled it away in the 9th inning for the 2nd time in this series. Rollins
Rollins with a 3-run homer, his second of the year, and it's 7-3 Philadelphia.
Well, Jimmy Rollins,
right, Keith?
once again, strikes again.
One home run coming into this game.
High change. Bomb right down the middle.
Well, we were waiting for the Pepsi porch shot tonight.
I was ready.
It didn't come from a Met. It came instead from a Met killer, Jimmy Rollins.
Just think if they made that catch, you would have had them on TV. Hang with them.
We had the guy last year.
That's
remember?
right.
Caught the ball in the Pepsi porch. Well, there are the numbers for Rollins against the Mets this year, and it's like deja vu all over again from Monday when Manny Acosta gave up the 3-run homer in the 9th to Wigginton that broke the game apart. Well, it's not been a good year for Jimmy Rollins, but boy, it's been a good night. Chris Schwinden throwing in the Mets bullpen. And now Pierre hits one out to right, chasing Duda back underneath us and beyond his reach. Pierre hits for second, and he'll stop there with a double. So they are teeing off on Ramon Ramirez. 3 batters, 3 hits, all hit well. And that's going to be all for Ramirez. And Chris Schwinden will come into the game. So a rough outing for Ramirez, a rough outing all around for the Mets bullpen. 7-3 Phillies in the 9th. With the Cardinals starting Friday night. Jaime Garcia was supposed to go Friday, but he's been scratched, so everybody moves up a day for the Cards. Adam Wainwright against Johan Santana Friday night. Lance Lynn goes for his 9th win. Ari Dickey at 7-1 pitching for the Mets on Saturday afternoon. Sunday night, John Neese and Jake Westbrook, and then Monday afternoon, either Jeremy Hefner or Miguel Batista for the Mets against Kyle Lohse. Now Chris Schwinden comes in relief, just back from the minor leagues yesterday.
You know, he made that couple of outings for the Mets, but in AAA, 3-4 with a fine 2.59 ERA.
Under Penn's first man to face him. Phillies with 3 runs home in the 9th, and Pierre at second with 1 out. And the breaking ball in for a strike from Schwinden. Pence is 1 for 4 tonight. Single to right center his last time up. That was the building hit as the Phillies rallied to take the lead in the 8th. Mets led this game 1-0 and 3-1, but the Phillies with 6 runs in the last 3 innings. Reminiscent of the game that the Phillies beat the Mets when Mike Pelfrey started back in April, that first series they played. The Phillies scored 7 runs in the last 2 innings of that game to come from behind and win 8-2. One and 2 to Pence.
Well, you know, the 2 years we've been up here in the Pepsi porch, the 2 home runs were hit to the left of us, Gary, and they moved us over one section, and maybe they ought to put us down the foul pole.
Well, this one was a little closer.
It was.
Only a few feet to our left this year. I mean, there's only one section between us and the foul pole. If we go too close to the pole, maybe someone will hit one right off the screen.
Keith, someone wants you to go sign their glove, by the way.
Well, I'm working here.
I'm sure you'll accommodate them later, being the nice guy you are. Or did I misread that? Here's the 1-2, and Pence takes the breaking ball low and away, 2-2. Chris Schwinden from Visalia, California. Made his mark in the Mets farm system last year.
The Valley kid, then. San Joaquin Valley, Ronnie.
That's where Visalia is?
I think so.
Oh.
It's in that stretch there. The breadbasket in California. Oh, got him.
Not quite. Got the helmet knocked off, but he still has his hat.
Boy, that was close.
He got back.
The Mets at one time had a farm team in Visalia.
Yes.
In the Cal League. What a team in New York is doing with a team in the Cal League, I'm not quite sure.
Well, that was a high A-ball league back then, yeah.
I don't think it still is.
Well, the other teams in that league, Keith, do you remember?
Back then was Fresno was the Giants, Reno was Cleveland. You had Modesto was the Cardinals.
Pence back to the mound. Schwinden has the runner hung up, and Murphy missed the tag on Pierre, and everybody's safe.
Ronnie, I think it's you to explain what went wrong here.
Yeah, well, what you have to do as the pitcher, when the comebacker comes and you got the guy off second base, you have to run right at him. So run right at Pierre. Don't just stand there and throw the baseball. Run right at him, make him decide where he's going to go, and then deliver the baseball.
Now, Murph makes a boo-boo here, too. Murph comes off the bag. Well, he comes in front, and he should stay right at the bag.
You know, in rundowns, you'd think to try to close up the area, but not on that play. You got to catch the ball first, get him going one way or the other.
By the way, from our angle up here in right field, we had the perfect angle to see miss the tag.
Yeah.
So first and second and one out, and now Wigginton.
See, Murph comes forward. Murph leaves the bag. Now that's, if he stays at the bag, that throws right at the bag. You've got Pierre out by a mile. There's no reason for him to leave the bag.
But if you're the pitcher, you make that play so easy. Just run right at Pierre, make him freeze, and decide. Once he decides one way or the other, he's a dead duck.
Wigginton 1 for 3 and a walk tonight. Homered back in the second. Pierre dancing off the bag at second base. And Wigginton takes a fastball strike, 1-2. Well, the Mets have used 6 pitchers tonight. Dylan G certainly pitched another sparkling game. Left with a 3-1 lead. Wound up being charged with 2 runs and 6 hits over 6 2/3. But every member of the bullpen tonight has struggled. Parnell gave up the home run to Carlos Ruiz that tied the game. John Roush gave up the run in the 8th that put the Phillies in front. Tim Burdack walked the leadoff hitter in the 9th. And then Ramon Ramirez gave up the 3-run homer to Jimmy Rollins that has stretched the Philadelphia lead. Schwinden trying to mop up. And now full count to Wigginton. So back-to-back full counts from Schwinden to his first two batters. And a pickoff try, and Pierre back safely again. Helmet stayed on this time.
Schwinden's pitch in the last 2 seasons has been his cutter. He's gone inside now to Wigginton twice. Let's see if he goes back to his pitch.
And Wigginton drives one deep left center field, well beyond the reach of Hairston and off the wall. Pierre is in. To third goes Pence, and Wigginton just continues to tattoo the baseball. An RBI double makes it 8-3 Philadelphia.
What a series he had, or this outing, I guess.
Tries a little fastball away, too much plate. On it like a rash, and that is a bullet.
8th run batted in this 3-game series for Ty Wigginton. Now Shane Victorino, the batter. The Mets bring the infield in, now down by 5 runs in the 9th. And Victorino takes a strike. Victorino's line drive sacrifice fly gave the Phillies the lead in the 8th inning, and now they've tacked on 4 in the 9th. And Victorino fouls one off. 0-2. So 3 runs are charged to Ramirez in this inning, after the first run was charged to Burdack. Placido Polanco on deck. Victorino, the 8th man up in the inning. It's been a very odd year for the Mets bullpen, don't you think? They have had some stretches where they've been lights out, and some stretches where they can't get anybody out.
Very streaky.
Well, it's on Schwinden now to finish this game, at least the top half of this inning, and save whatever's left for Friday.
Hit sharply. That's a base hit, and that'll bring in 2 more. Pence is in. Wigginton heads for the plate. He'll score easily. A 2-run single for Shane Victorino. The Phillies have put up a 6th spot in the top of the 9th, and they lead 10-3.
Well, Gary, you said it. Just pretty much this game, like the first game of the series, well, the Phillies just keep pounding infield in. It just leaves you so exposed, cuts your range down, nothing you can do.
That's the same ground ball Victorino's hit all series long.
It's his first hit in the series. He had been 0 for 11 to that point, but his sacrifice fly gave them the lead in the 8th, and now he puts on the icing here in the 9th. Jack Egbert gets up in the Mets bullpen. Polanco, the 9th man up in the inning. Still only 1 out. Ground ball to third. Right to Murphy. And on to first. Can't be scooped by Rotino. Heading for second now is Polanco, and he'll make it safely. So the carnage continues in the 9th. 5-4 on the fielder's choice, and an error on Murphy, allowing Polanco to go to second. Although if Ike Davis is at first base, that's a double play.
Yes, you know, you can't fault Rotino. He is not a first baseman.
So now Freddie Galvis, who began this inning as a pinch hitter and walked against Tim Burdack to get this whole thing started, will get his second at bat of the inning. Galvis batted for Fontenot, and he'll stay on to play second base in the bottom of the 9th, but it's rather academic now. The Phillies, who were down 3-1, now lead 10-3.
Not many times you lead off an inning as a pinch hitter and get 2 at bats.
Egbert continuing to throw. This is not technically a pinch hit at bat for Galvis. It's kind of a it's a It's a zombie at bat. Quintanilla stands under the pop-up, and the inning finally comes to an end. The 10 Phillies came to bat, and they score 6 runs to break it open. It's 10-3 Phillies. Ball on SNY is brought to you by Pepsi Max. Go to MLB.com/Pepsi Max to vote for your favorite legends for the chance to play ball with some of baseball's greats. By Cadillac. By Dreyer's Slow Churned Light Ice Cream. By Verizon Wireless. Win Mets memorabilia from Verizon at Mets.com/Verizon Sweeps. And by the all-new Mazda CX-5 with 35 highway miles per gallon. Ninth inning, Freddie Galvis stays in the game at second base. John Mayberry stays in the game in left field. And on to pitch the ninth inning for the Phillies, the former Met Raul Valdez.
Well, 7 straight scoreless appearances to start his campaign, with the Phillies covering 8 1/3 innings for Valdez.
He worked a 1-2-3 inning last night. Lucas Duda leads off in the last of the ninth inning for New York. Duda gave the Mets a 3-1 lead with a 2-run homer into the bullpen in right center in the 6th inning, his 6th of the year, tying him with Scott Hairston for the club lead, and all was going swimmingly for the Mets at that point. Very little has gone well since. The Phillies scoring 9 runs in the last 3 innings, 8 of the 9 against the Mets bullpen. Rob Johnson on deck, then Omar Quintanilla in the home ninth. So barring a huge rally, the Mets will be 4-3 on this homestand, with 4 games coming up against the Cardinals starting on Friday night. The Mets also, despite what appears to be a loss tonight, will finish May with a winning record, as they finished April with a winning record. They were 13-10 in April. They'll be 15-13 in May. First time they will have a winning April and May since 2007. And Duda hits one foul. There's your Verizon Mets box score. Duda with the 2-run homer. David Wright had an RBI double back in the first. Scott Hairston a couple more hits. But it has been the performance of the Mets bullpen that's been front and center as Duda drives one deep center field, headed toward the wall, and it's out of here. Lucas Duda with his 2nd home run of the night. Well, they say home run hitters hit them in bunches. Duda went a month without a home run, but just these last few days, all of a sudden, the home run bat is coming around. That's his 7th of the year.
Boy, Keith, when he hits him, he makes this ballpark look small, doesn't he?
But he's very, very strong. There's nowhere in this ballpark that can hold him. Even the old dimensions aren't going to hold him. Basically the same spot, Ronnie. A little bit more of the plate.
But that's just the line drive.
So that makes it a 10-4 game. Mets hitting their second home run of the game. Log on to sny.tv/Dwayne Reed to print out your coupon for $4 off Zyrtec. Redeemable at any Dwayne Reed location. Second 2-home run game for Duda this year. He had 2 against the Braves back on April 7th. And now 2 tonight in back-to-back at bats. And both of them against left-handers. He hit the first one off Cliff Lee and this one off Valdez. Out to right field, and Pence is there to retire Rob Johnson, 1 out.
Well, it doesn't get any easier, right? Mets going to be facing after the Phillies leave town. Talked about the Cardinals series. Nats, Yankees twice, Rays, Reds, and O's. All fine ball clubs.
Here's Omar Quintanilla, who's 0 for 3 tonight after his raucous Mets debut last night. Well, the Phillies and Mets played 2 series in Philadelphia, and the Mets won them both, taking 2 out of 3 of the first series and then sweeping the second one. And now the Phillies on the verge of taking their first series in New York this year. So the road team has had the advantage in all 3 series. Kirk Neuenhuis on deck to bat for the pitcher. And Quintanilla taps one back to Valdez. 2 out. So the Mets are down to their final out of the night. Geico Sports Night, the only show that's only New York sports. Tonight after the post game, Devils and Kings game 1. The NBA had its draft lottery, and Jordan Ewing. Geico Sports Night tonight after the post game, only on SNY. Well, the lone bright spot tonight, well, 2 of them really. The performance of Dylan G, second straight terrific start, and Duda with the 2 home runs. Now the Mets down to their last out, and Kirk Neuenhuis the pinch hitter. Neuenhuis 2 for 6 in this series. Well, the Mets after tonight will have played 20 straight days without a day off. They finally get that day off tomorrow.
I think it comes at a good time for this team.
I think it's a good off day, no question.
It will give every member of the starting staff an extra day. Most importantly, Johan Santana, who opens the Cardinals series Friday night. That's ripped into center field, a base hit for Neuenhuis. So Kirk keeps the game going with a 2-out pinch single. You know, Johan had 4 straight starts in which he went on regular rest, regular 4 days rest, culminating in maybe his best start of the season, his last time out, a 4-hit shutout against the Padres. But stepping up in class to face the Cardinals Friday night, and with that extra day of rest, coming back from the shoulder surgery, it will be of great importance for him to get that day.
Neuenhuis now 4 for 5. Pinch hitting.
If you're coming off the bench on this team, you're usually producing.
Yeah, right.
It seemed that way anyway. Andres Torres takes the ball. Torres 1 for 4 tonight. Mets have 10 hits, but the Phillies with 10 runs and 14 hits. Two balls and a strike to Torres. The Braves have won. They outslugged the Cardinals tonight 10-7 in Atlanta. The Marlins are 1 out away from victory, leading the Nats 5-3. If Miami wins, they'll be a half game behind Washington for first place.
I don't believe number 22, that is Heath Bell in there, excuse me, for the save. And you can see runners on first and third, 2 outs.
So far.
Yeah, right.
He's been pulled in save chances in the middle of innings twice in the last couple of weeks. But he was clean in his last outing. But the Marlins are 20-8 in May, even with Bell struggling. Now it's 2-2 to Torres, and he golfs one in the air down the right field side, and that'll head to the stands.
It's a fight for the baseball between someone north of 50 and someone south of 20.
Who won?
Old guy.
Gave it up, I hope. No. 2-2. And that just missed. Full count to Torres. Daniel Murphy hoping Torres can keep it going, get him another at bat. Valdez trying to finish it off for the Phillies. 3-2 to Torres, and he lines one deep left field. Back goes Mayberry. It's over his head and one hop to the wall. Neuenhuis to third. He'll be stopped and then waved home. It's an RBI double for Andres Torres, and now it's 10-5. We have seen a lot of very hard hit balls in this game.
Laser beams.
Well, you're not going to walk anybody here with a big lead. So you're 3-2. You got yourself in trouble. Fastball right there. Torres all over it.
Well, Charlie Manuel's seen enough. Raul Valdez has given up a couple of runs in the ninth. And even though it is not yet a save situation, Charlie will waste no time bringing in Jonathan Papelbon to try and get the final out of this game. 10-5 Phillies in the ninth. We'll be right back. Managing to the save rule, he's going to bring Jonathan Papelbon in with a 5-run lead.
Well, no saves, but 232 in his career. And when he was with the Red Sox, 6 consecutive seasons of 30 or more saves.
Well, it's imperative that the Phillies come here and try to reset the tone on the Mets. The tone they have always set. With the Mets winning the first 2 series in Philadelphia, Charlie wants to get on that turnpike back to Philly with a series win and a W.
Mets have scored twice in the ninth against Raul Valdez. Now Papelbon trying to end it with Daniel Murphy in the box. Murphy 1 for 3 and a walk tonight. Torres at second and 2 out. And Murphy takes a fastball for a strike. Mets beat Papelbon earlier this season in a non-save situation. Came into a tie game, and Jordani Valdespin hit the 3-run homer to beat him. And Murphy lofts one foul, and that'll go out of play. And now the Mets again are down to their last strike. David Wright hoping for a turn on deck.
Papelbon has that same routine. Big deep breath. Takes his stance with that glove behind him, that closed front shoulder, and lets it fly.
But is the death stare quite as menacing when it's not a save chance?
No, no, of course not. Yeah, he takes it up a notch. You can't argue with what he's done, right, in the last few seasons.
Got some serious bitter beer face there.
Yeah.
Now the 0-2 to Murphy. And Murph struggling to stay in there. This has been a mark of this Mets team too, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, hopelessly down going to the bottom of the ninth. And they're still in there grinding out at bats. Torres at second and 2 out. 0-2 to Murphy. And he fouls one off.
Well, you said it, Garrett. There's no quit in this bunch.
Well, Miami has beaten Washington 5-3, so if the Mets lose tonight, they will head into their off day a game and a half out of first place. And who would have thought that at the end of May? Again, the 0-2. And Murphy fouls off another one. He can provide some souvenirs, can't he?
I'll tell you one thing we can see here is where you want to sit if you want to get some foul balls. There's this little section there above the first stands that has been littered with balls today.
And Murphy lines one. Center field. Victorino on to slide. Can't make the catch. Torres scores. Murphy has an RBI single. And now it's 10-6. Well, quite an at-bat for Murphy.
Tried a little backdoor slider. Murph stays in off the end of the bat. And usually we see Victorino make these plays, but a lot of balls have gotten over Victorino and in front in this series.
So 3 runs are home in the inning, all charged to Raul Valdez. That's not very nice showing up your fielder like that. We've seen that before from Papelbon. Here's Wright, who's 1 for 4, doubled in a run back in the first. Murphy takes off. That's hit on a hop to second, and Galvis makes the play. Scooped out of the dirt by Wigginton, and the ball game is over. Mets put up 3 against Valdez and company in the 9th, but come up short as the Mets bullpen had a very rough night, and the Phillies take the rubber game of the series 10-6.
Well, fine effort by Dylan G tonight and Cliff Lee, but it was the bullpens decided it, and the Mets bullpen giving up 8 runs in this game late.
Well, you would think that this game was a blowout, but it really wasn't. And Charlie Emanuel's got to be very happy with his squad. Wigginton another big day. Duda with 2 home runs, his 6th and 7th. But Ruiz really sparked his comeback with a pinch hit 2-run home run. That was his 8th. And that came in the top of the 7th inning.
There's your Pepsi Max game summary. Phillies scored 9 runs in the last 3 innings, 8 of the 9 against the Mets bullpen, and they win it 10-6 despite 2 Lucas Duda home runs, his second 2-home run game of the season. That we got another home run into the Pepsi porch, but it wasn't from the guy we expected tonight, as Jimmy Rollins hit it almost in our laps.
Well, shoot, I mean, Rollins has always been a thorn in the Mets side, and just a big game from him. Wigginton had just a great series. He scored 4 runs, had 2 home runs, had the 6 RBI day. So a tough loss for the Mets here. It was a real hard-fought game, but the Phillies, as we've seen in the past, the last 3 innings, they scored 9 runs.
Well, it's a real shame that the Mets outplayed them even after 7 innings. Just a fantastic ball game, but it just went all awry with the bullpen coming in. Bobby Parnell had to get 1 out and could not do it tonight. And Chuch Ruiz, who's been the best hitter for the Philadelphia Phillies, with that 2-run home run to tie it, and the Phillies took it from there.
A lot of big hits for the Phillies tonight. 2 home runs for Lucas Duda. For the Mets, not nearly enough, as the Phillies win a series from the Mets for the first time in 3 tries as they take the rubber game tonight 10-6 here at Citi Field. Mets are off tomorrow. Back in action Friday night against the Cardinals with Johan Santana against Adam Wainwright. Our coverage begins here on SNY Friday night at 6:30. Now from the Pepsi porch for Ron Darling.